spade addict can recover. But today...
What's up, folks? Smash the like button, share the live, do the things you need to do. Mrs. Steele, I forgot my coffee.
I bring you green apple. Did I do what you wanted me to do? Did I? This is what I want, 'cause you're not giving me green apple. Listen here, little boy, you're running. You're running. Did I accomplish it? Holy heaven, brother. Oh, come on. Please focus on your own argument. Yes, give in to the hatred. Feel it rising, I can taste it. Was Jesus crucified? Answer me! What is Jesus, the Messiah of an Islam? Speak! Lock in, lock in. Lock in, lock in. Shut up, little boy. Lock in, lock in. Lock in, lock in. I was just really happy I didn't crash out today. Women, but no.
Oh, what the heck, man. Gosh dang it. Ah, that was so abrupt. I'm like, why isn't my... I'm always having technical issues. It's because I do everything myself. Like, I got so many buttons in front of me, and I choose to do it the way because I want the control. And I'm like, anyways, one of my buttons wasn't working. I'm like, oh, I need to reset the thing. But then I forgot the thing runs the music. Yeah, that was a fail. That was an epic fail. Such a widow cup.
It holds about the same as the tall one.
Two little ice cubes.
3
little ice cubes. Definitely doesn't. Because I can put like 7 ice cubes in the big one. Yeah, that was a fail. Let's see if by bare minimum I fit. Nope. All the buttons on my freaking device just stopped working now. Lord, why do you do this to me? It all works one day, and then just the next day, you're just like, nah, bro. Nah, we're gonna take that away from you. We're gonna stop it from working. We're just gonna shut that off.
Keeps you humble.
Because it literally, like, it worked yesterday. We were using it yesterday. I hadn't even changed anything since yesterday. And now the buttons don't work anymore. Smash the like button, share it live. We're doing a different one today. We're doing an AMA today, mainly because I am incredibly tired. Somebody decided to call me super early in the morning, and then I didn't really get back to sleep since then. And I've had bubble guts this morning, and that's kept me... Yeah.
We did get a super chat.
Oh, did we? What does it say? Because I don't have it.
You don't?
No.
Bro. Caleb sent $100.
No, thank you.
He said, my only question for the AMA, are we going to break records today?
Records in what? Money?
Probably.
I hope so. Yeah, all my buttons just stopped freaking working, man.
All of them? Ain't no way.
It's like a reward.
Not all of them, just the ones I use the most.
That didn't pop up though.
No, it didn't pop up. That's something I've had to fix. Just the ones I use the most. Those are the buttons that stopped working. And see, if my buttons were working, I would have done the zoom in feature there. But they're not working. I wonder if it's specifically that app, source visibility app. I'm gonna go back to the old one. Replace. Now I got to go through the buttons and fix them, and you guys are gonna have to stare at me while I'm doing this, fixing it stuff. Yeah, that one. There we go. We got that one going. I just copy and paste, replace, and we switch that to close. Up. Yep. Okay. And copy, replace, and switch that to extra close. Blah, 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 blah. We got it. That wasn't that bad. And then what was that one? Just copy, replace. Yep. This is what we're doing today, folks. We're fixing things. It's a technical problems stream. It's a technical problem stream. That's what we're doing today. Okay?
That's what we do every day.
That's what we do. Shut up, Abby. No, did I ask your opinion? Did I go, Abby, hey, what's your opinion on this specific thing? There. We fixed it. We fixed it. You know what's funny? You know what the irony is today? I have my first appointment today for like an actual, like as a paid gig to help somebody else set up their live stream. And I really hope they're not watching today. How did me and Abby meet? Craigslist.
What?
On Craigslist in the most wanted ad.
That's not true.
I work in the audio industry. About 70% of my full-time job is figuring out things like this stopped working, yet you aren't alone. Yeah, it just stops, man. Also, I got this today. Look, it came in. We have more buttons. Now, To not work. Now I can finally set up all those things I promised you guys. All the little features. Like the issue is I haven't set them up because I'm out of buttons. Right? All my buttons are filled up because I just got this little one. I can't even show it on camera. I got the little one, right? And the buttons are filled up and constantly trying to find the screen to like do the thing when it's like in the moment when somebody says something stupid and you want to hit the button, you gotta, hold on, wait for me to find the screen. So now we have enough buttons to do it. I also have my iPad set up to do the buttons, as you can see there. So, and those buttons are all full as well. There's so many buttons, so many buttons.
More buttons.
Here's money to make you feel better. That always makes me feel better. Money makes me feel better. My God, why do I need all those buttons? Well, good question. So there's lots of buttons for different things. We have a soundboard, right? Where we can do things like that. Those are the buttons. We have all the buttons to switch our scenes. Oh, look at that.
There we go. Why was it so delayed?
Because I don't have it set up on the main cam scene.
Oh.
Then all right, like sharing screens and whatnot.
Okay.
And then I have buttons for guests when they come up. I have a button for Abby. I have a button for Abby by herself, right? I have buttons for when I do raids. I have my starting soon button. I have my start and countdown button. I have my B-Reg back screen. I have my tool ending. And then I also have a full album of songs that are played for specific scenarios. Those are the buttons. Then I have a button for the zoom features, right? All those zoom features. And I got the sad one, the thinking one. I want to add more to those. And then I have all the...
People are saying they can't hear the sounds.
You couldn't hear any of that?
The sounds.
Yeah, I know, because I had the button pressed. These sounds. I fixed it. That one was my bad. I forgot to turn it on. Then I have a button to start recording. I have a button to do a zoom in when I'm sharing a screen. I have, there's all sorts of buttons, man. Buttons are cool, man. Hey, more money. That made me feel better too.
Money.
Thank you. We appreciate you here. Yeah, no, we got all sorts of buttons to do things. I also have buttons to control my audio, right? Which is why you guys didn't hear the sound because I forgot to hit the button. On my desk, I got No. Once I add this thing, I'm going to have probably over 100 buttons. If you don't include my keyboard. Yeah. Yeah, 100 buttons. All right, guys, smash the like button, share the live, do the things you need to do. Today's topic is just ask me anything. Where is... Oh, my gosh. Oh, wait, no, it's there. What? Okay, hold on. You go away. What? What is happening here? Where is my ticker? Okay.
What ticker?
I think the button stopped working on the other thing too.
Oh.
Just trying to switch. Well, more things I got to fix. While I'm fixing things, let's play something. Let's play. What song do you want, Abby?
I don't know. Anything.
Testimony ain't evidence, no sir, not at all. I heard it from my cousin and he heard it down the hall. My grandma saw it happen and she told me what she saw. But a witness on the stand don't mean a doggone thing in law. Don't trust what people tell you, don't believe a word they say, unless they swear an oath on a Bible anyway. My neighbor, my professor, and my pastor all agree, but that don't count as evidence, just take it from me. My doctor told me I was sick, I saw it with my eyes.
While we're doing this, we need those 20,000 likes.
Climate change, now that I'd never buy.
So keep smashing the like button. By the time I have it fixed, we should be good to go.
Watched it happen, every one of them will swear. But personal accounts are worthless. Ask literally anyone who's there. Now I know what you're thinking, and I'll tell you. Every single expert I've talked to agrees with me on this, every last one of them. So don't you trust nobody's word, especially not mine. Wait.
Oh, that song wasn't long enough. I'm nowhere near done. Let's see if I... There we go. That one fixed. Now I got to fix the other one. What's up?
You should play a bird song.
The bird song?
Yeah.
You got to learn how to stay centered to the camera. Every time I center you, and then you just freaking move around again. And now look at you. Look at where you are. It looks weird. Learn how to camera. Also, by the way, it's our anniversary.
It is our anniversary.
It is our anniversary.
3 years.
Happy anniversary, woman. Be better. Do better.
That's so rude.
I'm not rude. You're rude.
You're rude.
You're rude.
You're rude.
No, you're rude.
No.
You are. You are the rudest rude that ever rude. All right. Tip jar scene.
Someone said you need a Spotify or YouTube folder with all your songs. The only place you can hear our songs is here.
Yep.
We need a reason for you to come back.
Dinner on me.
Thank you. Thank you, Funky. Dinner's on Funky tonight, Abby.
Thanks, Funky.
It's tonight because we are going out somewhere fancy tonight, so that's gonna help.
It's not fancy. It's just a little bit expensive.
It's more than a little bit expensive.
Smokehouse.
Yeah. It's not some place we go to on a regular basis. We'll say that.
Our anniversary is on Tetris Man's wife's birthday.
Happy birthday.
What's a lesson marriage has taught you so far?
That buttons don't work.
This should cover the tip.
It worked 2 seconds ago, and now all of a sudden it's not working again. What the frick, man? What is a lesson has taught us so far, Abby?
I'm trying to think.
Okay. Well, we're just gonna fix this the old-fashioned way, and then I'll deal with it
I
later.
don't know.
Uh, Hold on, I gotta test something.
Debate addict in
There we go. I had buttons all to do that, and I have to go in and manually set it all, and that was frustrating. Now it's all manually set, and I'll just leave it for today, and I'll fix it later. I don't know why those buttons just stop working sometimes. I got to not use that one. I got to use the different button. All right, we should be good to go. Guys. Did we hit 20,000 likes? 3,000 likes? You guys have had all this time? You disgust me. But do you have a big shiny red button? Maybe we should get one. For like a ban. Like I hit the big button, boom, and somebody gets kicked off of the chat. Dinner's on you. Thank you. Here's my $2. Happy anniversary. Thank you, sir. Thank you. What's a lesson? We didn't answer that. Let's get back to that. This should cover the tip. That's a 20% tip. Pretty cheap. A lesson we've learned in our marriage so far, Abby.
I don't know. Like, I feel like when people are talking about lessons they've learned in marriage, it's like when they think that when they don't go into marriage prepared and then they go through a learning curve.
We spent a lot of time thinking about our marriage before we got married and planning it.
I don't
and
really
what we were
feel
going
like,
to do. We haven't really changed anything in our marriage. We kind of just
No.
stuck to our rules and plans that we agreed on in our engagement.
maybe like it's just easier to overlook like the little things. Like when you leave your socks on the floor. It's
don't
easier to pick them up. I'll just pick them up.
Yeah, don't let little cuts build up. I think that's the one lesson in marriage, right? We have a rule, but we set this rule before we married, so it's not really like a lesson we had in marriage. It's like if something bugs you 3 times, you bring it up with your partner.
That's from Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. Can you bring your mic a little closer too, please?
Yes. Well, no, but kind of.
Yeah. So if something bothers you more than 3 times, bring it up with your partner, because if not, you're going to build resentment. That's one thing that we do. So like, there's been times I've gone to Abby about things I think are really stupid, but it bothered me there, boy. Bothered me, yes. Bothered me more than 3 times. So we brought it up with each other, and then you try to fix it. You try to change it, I guess, and focus on it. Yeah, communication is the key to all of it, man. But people say that until they're blue in the face, and then they don't do it. They just let things build up, and then eventually they're just like, I don't love you anymore, and then they break up.
Wild.
Yeah, that's what usually happens. 20K likes, yep. I definitely did marry up. You're not wrong. Happy wife, happy life. Sexism's finest. Sorry, I'll stop. No, happy spouse, happy house.
Yeah, we never. Yeah, that's lame.
Also, happiness is a fleeting thing. Don't seek out happiness. There's times where we're not happy, but we still love each other. Yeah, there's times where it's like we're not happy, but the happiness we share together, or the unhappiness. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
Or they talk without communicating. Yeah, you need to communicate. And when me and Abby sit down, sometimes have like 2-3 hour conversations about our positions that we're in and what we feel about certain things until we understand each other. I think that's the like lesson that we learned in marriage. But again, we're still new, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we posted our video about marriage the other day, and then one of the comments, one of the things I said is, in the video, I made a specific comment. Can you guys please stop doing this? Like I was saying, can you guys please stop doing this thing where it's like, just wait until, why are you wishing me ill will on certain things? And then one of the main comments with like a lot of likes was like, well, just wait until you're in 10 years of your marriage. It's like, bruh.
Tell me you missed the point.
You missed the point.
You missed the point.
You missed the point. Right? And that's what we've gotten a lot, right? When we first got married and we shared our rules online, I'll never forget this couple, man. They'll live in my head forever. They're like, oh, just wait until you're married a couple years. We've been married a couple years and we're still doing our rules. They're like, those, you'll throw those out. We don't throw them out. We actually follow them.
Because they were like good rules. I don't understand that. Why would I throw out something that's working?
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, yeah, it won't work. Well, we could do that. We could do that while we're waiting. Abby, you have the rules? And we can go through them. Our rules for marriage.
I do have them. We did that on our podcast.
Did you do premarital church counseling? Yeah. Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't. I don't think we really, because we really prepared on our own. The pastor didn't really have a whole lot to add. Was there any new evidence in the Charlie Kirk trial? I didn't watch any of it.
I haven't watched it either.
Happy anniversary. My wife and I celebrated our 13th on Monday. You guys are doing great. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah.
Was it horrible at 10 years?
Yeah. Do you hate it? Was it
the
one of those
worst?
just wait things? Wait until 10 years?
Or
And now
is
you
it,
resent and hate your
maybe
partner?
if you put effort into something, it will be okay. That's why I think people just stop putting effort in.
I think that's the big thing too. It's easy to get late. I think, okay, that's something I will say. Do I personally do testing? That's funny. I was testing to see if the chat would go onto our screen. See how I can bring you up on the screen? That's what I was testing because we're just new to Kick. We're new to Kick here. What was I going to say? I was just saying something.
It's easy to be lazy.
Oh yeah. So it's easy to be lazy, right? Like there's certain rituals that me and Abby do every single day. That's for our relationship. And sometimes it's KICK. Sometimes I don't want to do them. I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes I don't want to. You get off your ass and you do it anyways because it's those little rituals that are important.
Because he loves me.
Yeah, I think that's another thing in relationships. Rituals are important. So for example, one of our rituals is when we greet each other. When we say goodbye to each other, or when we say goodnight to each other, we kiss each other 3 times. That's a ritual that we have, whether you want to or not. You just do it. Abby always wants to. Do you have the rules?
Yeah, I have them.
Okay, what's the first rule?
Did you want to turn on the shorts chat?
Oh yeah. Open up the shorts.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Never go to bed angry. I don't agree with that one. Go to bed angry. Go to bed angry, but don't go to bed unresolved. You can be angry. Just find the issue. Though.
I think sometimes you need to sleep on it.
Yeah.
People feel better after a good night of sleep.
But you can't go to bed with an unresolved. Like that's one of our rules. We'll get into it. We'll explain it.
First rule is God first. Do you want me to read the whole thing?
Yeah, sure.
Make no decision in life without including and honoring God, never God but God. And if God calls us to something, we do it outside of our desire. Pray together and for each other.
Yep, I think that one's pretty self-explanatory, right? If God told us that we have to move to Texas tomorrow, we're moving to Texas. Yeah, never go to bed. That's the rule.
Never go to bed.
All right, what's the second rule?
Serve each other. Look for little things to do for each other. Put the other before yourself. Delegate tasks. Own your responsibilities. Share the load. My troubles are your troubles. Your troubles are mine. If one person asks for help, you help no matter what, unless you're truly unable. Keep yourself healthy. That's the one that we got flack for.
Yeah, because we were like, part of serving each other is keeping yourself healthy, right?
Yeah, no matter how hard life gets, still put effort into your parents.
Yeah, so like part of keeping yourself healthy is that if Abby gets fat, I could tell her. And if I get fat, she can tell me because that's part of being healthy is like doing that. And people are like, well, what if she gets into, well, yeah, if she gets into a car accident, she didn't purposely. Because when you choose not to keep yourself healthy, you burden your partner. And then you're not serving your partner. You're forcing your partner to serve you. So that was one aspect.
And also like, we've talked about this before, but we married each other healthy.
Yeah. So there's like those expectations. Serving each other, right? We like Abby. She went and got my coffee. That's one thing. Abby goes to bed before me, so every night I make sure I go hang out with her, and no, not in that way, right? Where I spend some time with her and talk with her in bed and just lay with her for a little bit. So that's part of serving each other, right? We have those little things that we do for each other all the time, even if we don't want to. Next rule:
don't withhold affection. Don't use absence of physical or verbal affection or acts of service. What?
This one's your least favorite.
As a punishment, don't make jokes about taking rings off. It's not actually my favorite. It's not actually my least favorite. I actually like this rule, but jokingly.
Yeah, jokingly, yeah, because like I'll be a dick on purpose. I'll like be a complete asshole just for the lulz, just to troll. And then I'll go to hold her hand, and she's like, "Don't hold my hand." I'm like, "Remember the rule. You can't." And then she gives me a finger. She's like, "You can take the finger." But I think this rule is super important. Don't withhold affection, right? If your partner needs a hug, you give them a hug. If your partner needs a kiss, you give them a kiss. If you hold hand, now obviously there's an aspect of consent, right? If you don't want to hug, you don't want to hug. Like the reason you don't want to hug is like, I just want to hug right now. But if you're like, I'm not going to give you a hug because you pissed me off.
It's like spiteful.
Spiteful holding of affection is like a hard rule that we set where like you're not going to do that, right? You're not going to withhold things, and you're gonna
or
be
like,
there for your person.
If so John comes and says goodnight to me at night. If he like was like, I'm not gonna do that tonight because I'm mad at you.
Yeah, it's withholding affection. Yeah. So those are small things, right? Again, small rituals. Don't neglect the rituals. What's the next one?
No secrets. Don't keep something from each other that would affect that person, including things going on in our personal life, not including secrets from friends or family that someone has trusted you with. The secrets have no time limit. It's not so far in the past that it isn't relevant.
Yeah. So a good example of that is I had a really shady past. Abby knows about all of it. You guys don't know about all of it, and you'll never know about all of it. But she knows about all of it because there's no timeline. Like every sin that I've done in my past, Abby is fully aware of it because it could sneak up on her one day. And then all of a sudden she doesn't know. So you have a right to know about your partner's life. But again, like, you know, if, for example, her sister did something and wanted to keep a secret from me, then she could keep that secret from me because it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect my life. That's just gossip. But if Abby has a secret that it would affect me and it would upset me and be part of my life, she has to tell me and vice versa. So I think that one's super important because you don't know. Because like there's a thing. It's like could you imagine like if I sat here and like we've been married 3 years and it's like you don't have any kids, do you? And it's like no, Abby, actually I do have 2 kids.
Can you imagine?
I have kids
That'd
in the past.
Wild.
It's like that'd be a secret that would affect her for sure. It's like, but it's in the past. Don't worry about it. That was my past. What's next?
Our folks said, don't withhold affection, no secrets. Might as well call this how to be intentionally disobedient to the crow.
That's good. That's good.
Are we doing all of them?
Yeah, let's go through all of them. Even the one you don't want to go through.
What?
Just do every single one.
What do you mean the one I don't want to go through?
Just keep going.
Okay. I'm like worried now. Always have each other's back in public. Never chastise the other person in front of others. You can disagree, but the way you do it has to be respectful. Light conversations are excluded. Stand up for each other if the other is being ridiculed, no matter who is doing the ridiculing.
Yeah.
Excluding confiding in friends. Oh, that's important. Yeah, excluding confiding in friends. So we have select friends that we agreed that we could complain to. Yeah.
So this rule basically is no matter what in public, we're gonna have each other's back. Even if we're wrong, we're gonna back each other up. We might like refrain, but we're never gonna go against the person. So like if somebody like, let's say our boss is coming down on me and Abby's there, she's not going to side with him and start chastising me as well. Or if we have issues with each other, we're not going to like bring other people in.
Or like arguing in public.
Or argue in public.
That's awkward.
Yeah, so like she's not going to go get her friend and her friend are going to sit there and tell me how awful of a husband I am, or vice versa. I'm going to get a friend and tell her how awful of a wife she is. That's going to be in every situation in public, we're going to agree. And now we can confide, like Abby has a select few friends, people that we've told each other about. She's got 2 friends. I got like a friend that I can go to that we can vent to that friend about each other. So she can go to her one friend and be like, John's being a dick. Right. And she could talk to that friend about me being a dick. But we've selected these friends and we know who those specific friends are.
And the reason that we picked those friends is because we know that those friends are going to be like if I'm being stupid, but I'm complaining about John, like those friends would be like, Abby, you're being stupid.
We know they're rational people. Yeah. They're not just going to like sit there and trash on the other person just because.
Or be like, oh my gosh, you should divorce him. Like they're never going to do that.
Yeah. They'll never bring that up. Be like, oh, you need to leave them. They're not those type of people.
I mean, unless it was crazy. But.
Yeah, like insane type of stuff.
Okay. Sorry, I thought I was confused. Look at this. Never go to bed angry. Never sleeping on the couch. Always say I love you before sleep. Never let the person sit and wonder if you still love them. Allow the other person to leave if they need it, but you don't walk out without telling where you're going and when you will be back.
And that's what I was saying about earlier is like, I kind of agree with that. And we still have that rule, but there's some points to it. To feel anger, you can go to bed feeling angry, but you can't go to bed with unresolved things, right? So it's not one of those things where it's like, I say something pisses Abby off. We need to finish the conversation. And she's just like, no. And then she just goes to bed. And it's like, I'm not talking to you. Like we're not doing that. Or vice versa, right? It's going to be one of those situations where we have some sort of goal or plan to resolve the problem. So it could be, one aspect of that is like, if Abby, is like, I don't want to talk to you right now. I'm like, fine. You don't want to talk to me right now. How long do you need? And when can we finish this conversation? And she's like, I will be back in 2 hours. We will talk about it then. Right. So we have a goal to resolve the issue. You can't just like leave the house and I can't storm off.
Ghost.
Yeah. So there's always a goal. There's always some sort of communication to resolve the problem.
And we don't sleep on the couch.
Yeah. There's none of this. I'm not sleeping with you tonight in the bed because I'm mad at you. None of that. Right. We own the bed together. We share it together. We both sleep in the bed.
One time I woke up and John hadn't come to bed and I was heartbroken.
Yeah. But that was for health issues.
Yeah. He was trying to see if the couch helped him. But I was like, oh, is he mad at me? Okay. Don't neglect time together and apart. Keep date night on the schedule and treat it like a job. It can be rescheduled if something comes up, but you can't miss it because you don't feel like it. Have a good attitude, even if you have to fake it. Never stop having fun and keep the romance alive. Embrace having time doing nothing. Have one time per week away from each other.
This is probably our least followed rule. Probably. It's the one we struggle the most to do. But like, because we're both busy people doing stuff all the time. But your goal should be to have a date night once a week. Right? It could be just something simple. It could be just like sitting and watching a movie. We actually usually do that. We usually sit and watch at least one movie together or something a week or something small. Or even if it's just sitting on the couch and having pizza or something. But yeah. Try to keep it going. Treat it as a job, the romance. What's up, Dan Lee?
Here, some mass monster. It's easy to brag about your marriage after a few years. Wait until it goes 10 plus years. Did
somebody say that in the chat?
Yeah. First of all, we're not bragging. We're just talking about how our marriage works.
Wait until 10 years. And then when we hit 10 years, wait until 15. And we hit 15. Wait until 20. Why are you wishing us ill will, bro? Why are you saying to us, wait until? Wait until
it's actually miserable and you hate your life.
Why you want us to be miserable? It's like you just assume that marriage is going to be miserable.
You will never catch me doing that.
No, I'm never going to wait until. Even like any situation. Never wait until. Right? Like you want people, you wish good upon people. 20 years in March, congratulations. Is it wait until? Are you telling us are you miserable in 20 years? Wait until 1,000 years. Marriage rocks. Who's hating? I love my marriage. I've been married 10 years and it's only gotten easier. Wait until 15 years, bro.
Yeah.
Wait until 15 years. Wait until 15. Yeah. Just give it 5 more years and you'll start to resent each other. Can't wait until day 1.
Bless you, Funky. She's out there, Funky.
She's out there. Somewhere. Craigslist. What's next?
Don't deprive each other, serve each other, balance the fun and the romance. Stay open-minded to new things.
Isn't that the same rule?
I think it's talking about like intimacy.
Enough said. What's next?
Embrace the hard conversations. Take nothing personally. Seek each other's growth. Always come from a place of how you feel rather than what someone is doing. Aim to help, not criticize. You can only let something bother you 3 times before you have to bring it up.
Yeah, well, that's one we already talked about, right? Yeah. Embrace, and also like hard conversations. You know, Abby might come to me and be like, "Hey, John, you need to know you have a little wiener," and that's a really difficult thing for me to deal with. And I gotta be okay with that conversation, right? We got to sit down and actually talk about it, and I can't take it personal, and I can't feel like I'm attacked, right? If that's something she's really struggling with, we gotta We got to sit and figure out a solution to that problem. So yeah, embrace the hard conversations and try not to take it personal. What's next?
My gosh. Last one. 3-kiss rule. When we first see each other, when we part ways, waking up and going to bed, slow down and take a moment.
Yeah, no matter how busy your day is, you always just take a second to embrace your partner. Right.
Somebody asked if we had help making these. It was just us. So we sat down and we planned it out.
Yeah, we went through the
Inspired
things
by,
that were important
Jordan
to us.
Peterson's
Jordan
10
Peterson
rules for life, but they weren't based off of him.
No.
But we just thought we should have our own 10 rules. And then underneath that, I had a list of like split responsibilities. So before we got married, I was like, I'm going to do the dishes because you're bad at doing dishes.
Weaponizing competence.
It's not weaponizing competence. I was like, I really hate vacuuming. Will you vacuum? And John was like, I don't really mind vacuuming. I'll vacuum. He takes care of the cars.
I do the car stuff, yeah.
You do vacuum though when it gets done.
Once every 3 months.
So 3 months, it's fine. All those things. So we had clear expectations for who was going to do what.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, oh, I thought you were going to do that. And he is like, I thought you were going to do that. And we're just mad at each other because we thought different.
Yeah, and then there's also none of this thing. It's like you see liberals do this all the time. I see it like from a lot of liberal leftist women. It's like, I don't want to make a list. He can see that there's laundry too. Like we both have eyes. We can see that there's laundry. Why doesn't he do the laundry? He can see there's dishes in the sink. There's none of that because I know what my delegated tasks are. Abby knows what her delegated tasks are. If those tasks don't get done, that's my fault because that is my delegated task. So if the car doesn't get fixed, that's my fault. The walk doesn't get shoveled, that's my fault. Bert doesn't get fed, that's my fault. Litter box doesn't get cleaned, that's my fault. I can't put that on Abby, even though she's got eyes and she could see it, right? I can't put it on Abby because that is my responsibility. It's falling on me, and vice versa, right? If the dishes aren't done, that's Abby's fault because that's her responsibility. She can't just look at me and be like, well, you could see that there's dishes in the sink. So it just removes that possibility of like creating an argument with each other because we have our own responsibilities that are delegated to us.
Now, sometimes John's like, can you take the car to the shop? I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
It's not like hard.
The
like we said, if we need help, we're going to ask for help. And we got to help each other.
Abby feeds Bert all the time, but mainly because Bert is asking her, not because me.
Yeah, he'll get really in because I'll be up in the morning, and then if I don't feed him, he'll go and like paw at the door
and try to wake me up to get food. So then she'll feed him. But yeah,
I feed him in the morning. He feeds him at night.
Ultimately, it's my responsibility. Real and base, enjoy the AMA. Thank you very much. Happy anniversary. Marriage is something that starts good and gets better if done right. You guys are doing good. Thank you. We appreciate that. We hope that we can keep doing it right. Again, we don't know what it's going to be like. People wait until 10 years. It might be worse than 10 years. Our goal is it's not to be. It's to be better. Our goal is to learn each other to the point where it gets easier. And that should be the thing, right? It's like jiu-jitsu. We compare a lot of things in our life to jiu-jitsu because we live it so much. Jiu-jitsu isn't supposed to get harder. It's supposed to get easier the more you learn about it. But when you first start it, it's hard. Wait till the 5th second of the first moon after the winter solstice.
That's good.
All right. Well, we've gone through the rules. Do you have more?
No, our folks said, sounds like y'all are doing the most. What is Bert doing? Is he pulling his weight or is bro just living there rent free?
Living here rent free.
But he's really cute, so it makes up for it. He brings us joy.
And that he's actually very attuned to sadness.
He is, yeah.
There's something he knows when people are sad, and he'll go and sit with them. I don't know how he knows, but he knows.
He's a sweet little boy.
So he's a good comforter, so to speak. But for the most part, he just pulls his weight and does all the things he shouldn't do until I eventually give in and get sick of fighting him on it. So, for example, right now, he's allowed to sit on the kitchen table because I got sick and tired of trying to fight. And the worst part about it is he knows. He knows because, for example, if he's sitting on his cat tower and I go, Bert, he just looks at me calmly. But if he's sitting on the kitchen table and I go, Bert, he books it. Right? He knows the difference.
But he sits on the very end that's closest to the window that doesn't get used because he wants to look out the window.
Yeah.
So.
All right. I think we can get into the normal stuff for today. Again, today we're doing atheist turn Christian. Ask me anything. It's an open conversation. Everybody is welcome to come up and chat with me. If you're coming up to try to do gotchas or catches, and I can sense that right away, I'm going to give you a boot. Because sometimes people like they'll pretend it's like, oh yeah, it's an ask me anything, and I'm just going to ask a question. But they're actually just trying to set traps and do those types of things and look for a clip. If I sense that, you're going to be booted.
Even if it's not true. So
yeah, if I just get a whiff of it,
don't be offended.
Yeah. Andrew, hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you? Oh, your mic's not connected, bro. Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How old are you?
18.
All right, man. What do you want to ask me?
I was actually just curious about what denomination you are, if you are any.
I don't share my denomination.
Oh, okay. I thought it was an ask me anything, so I was just wondering. Is there a reason why you don't?
Yeah, I gave you an answer. It's just not the answer you want.
Okay,
yeah, I don't share my denomination mainly because once you share a denomination, you get pigeonholed, and then people want to fight the denomination rather than the person. So as soon as if I sat here right off the bat and I say, I'm non-denom, then they're going to be like, oh, how do you do churchless apologetics? How do you not believe in the church fathers? And they're going to go down that direction. Or if I say, I'm Orthodox, they're going to be like, why do you reject the papacy? And it becomes like specific towards the denomination rather than the person and the fruits, because I agree with almost every denomination in a certain way and I disagree with almost every denomination in a certain way, so I don't want to get pigeonholed.
I see. So is that well, you're not going to answer because obviously you're not going to share, but from how you're sounding, it comes across as if you don't stand by any particular denomination too wholeheartedly. That's what it sounds like. Which, I mean, that's cool,
No. See, what you're doing is you're doing the pigeonhole thing I was telling you about. Because you could stand with the denomination and disagree with things. Like, for example, Trent Horn, he's Catholic. He made a video specifically on how the Catechism talks about the fact that Muslims and Catholics worship the same God. And in that video, he gave like a defense for that. But at the end of the video, he also says, you don't have to believe in this and you could still be Catholic. This is something that you can reject. This is not spoken ex cathedra. So like he even made that statement. He's like the Catholic's top apologist guy right now. And he even made that statement that, yeah, you can stand with the Catholic Church, believe in them wholeheartedly, and disagree with this one perspective. And so that's what I'm saying. If I said right here, I'm Orthodox, you guys would all be like, well, you have to believe this because that's what the Orthodox Church says.
Right. Well, I didn't mean to do any pigeonhole shenanigans there. Sorry.
Shenanigans.
Yeah, my fault. Well, yeah, I guess that's an interesting way of looking at it. What do you think of, can I ask you what you think of other denominations then? If I can't ask you what yours is.
You can ask me about specific viewpoints in denominations, but preferably not a denomination in its entirety.
Okay. Well, I'm Roman Catholic, right? Mm-hmm. And I've always had like a difficult time defending the way we use icons and like what's the word for it? Divine intercession and that sort of things. Whenever like I'm asked about it by my friends and all that stuff, I've tried to like read up on it myself and for my own arguments, but that's easier said than done, right? So can I ask for your view on that?
So I'm not too familiar with iconography to its an extent. I do think there is some basis and argumentation from it and even comes from scripture to a certain standard. For example, I think it was Paul's handkerchief healed people. And so that would be an icon, right? There's some sort of material object that has some sort of connection to the immaterial being that, works in paradise. And through that object, you're not venerating the object, you're venerating the person that is represented by the object. And so in a sense, I think all Christians believe in icons to a certain extent, because we would say that the scripture is the word of God, and the scripture, I don't know which specific denomination holds this, but the scripture would be an icon of Jesus's word, right? So when you're seeing, like, for example, Jesus speak throughout the scripture, that's an icon of Jesus, and it has a connection through him.
I have never thought of it like that. That is incredibly interesting. Wow, an icon of Jesus's word. Wow. Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. No. Yeah. That's all I had to ask. To be honest, I appreciate you talking with me. Though.
No problem,
Yeah.
man. God bless.
God bless. Yes. Have a good day. If you could like take me down, I
Yeah, I'm
don't know how to
trying
come
to.
down.
It's just really slow.
Sorry.
You should have put. You should have also put up. Not my denomination.
No, I'm okay if they ask the question, because then we can get into that. I just don't want the question.
No, that guy was nice.
Yeah, that was fine. I just don't want the question about, because we can get into the conversation about why I don't want to talk about my testimony. That's
Okay.
fine. I don't want to talk, or it's not my testimony, my denomination. I just don't want to talk about my testimony, because then it's a long ass testimony.
Yeah,
and I got to
we have it
repeat
somewhere else.
repeat it. Wait, can I come up and debate John on pew pews? If you use TOS, I don't see why not. I don't see why not. Andrew, once again, you didn't connect your mic. Alex, hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you? All right, hold on, let me bring you in. Go ahead.
Sure. So my parents are GWs, so, and I constantly try to speak to them about Trinity, about the Bible, these topics. And I find it's hard for me personally as well to believe in Trinity after some of their responses and from my upbringing. So I bring, for example, Hebrews 1, or bring the easiest John 1. My favorite maybe like from the Old Testament prophecy from, not English, my native language.
Okay.
The one I bring them where Jesus is called Eternal Father, Great Counselor, this part, and they wave hand that this doesn't mean that. And the most important part where Jesus said that he is lesser than his Father, and nothing that he does without his Father. I answer them in classical ways about economical Trinity and others, but I'm myself not really standing still in my ways. So any recommendation for them and for me?
I'm working on a list of Jesus being God. I got to get back to working on it. I kind of like started it like 4 months ago, and then I stopped. There is one thing I'm gonna probably post the list when it's done in my Discord for people to have access to. But there's one verse I'm trying to remember where it is real quick. Hebrews 3. I think is probably one of the strongest verses to say that Jesus is not, because Jehovah's Witness, right? They believe that he's the angel Gabriel. Is that right?
Not Gabriel, Michael.
Michael, yeah. So they believe he's the angel Michael. So can you see this?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, let me just zoom in for you here. Hebrews 3 says, therefore, holy brothers and sisters, partakers of heavenly calling, consider the apostle and high priest of our confession. Jesus, he was faithful to him who appointed him as Moses, also was in all his house. For he has been counted worthy of more glory than Moses. Just by so much the builder of the house has more honor than the house. So Jesus, he was faithful to him who appointed him, as Moses also was in all his house. So whose house is this?
Bill has more. I'm sorry, I just hard to think in English right now. Can you answer?
Yeah, I'll explain. So the house here is God's house. This is God's house, right? God is the builder of all things. So Jesus, he is counted worthy of more glory than Moses. So Jesus has more glory than Moses. By just so much the builder of the house has more glory than the house. So Jesus is the one who built the house here, right?
Okay, see, yeah.
Yeah, and then it says here, the builder of all things is God.
Oh, that's a nice one. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, so we have Jesus having more glory than Moses because he is the builder of the house, and then it straight up says that the builder of the house is God. So we have a direct declaration. This is probably one of my favorite verses that says Jesus is God.
Yeah, that's a nice one. I have a bunch of verses like this that I also like, logical, philosophical. But whenever I bring something that is not like Jesus is God, they say maybe it's another interpretation, or this place is kind of hard. Let's look at more clearer place where Jesus said, "I'm not as great as Father." This one.
Sure. So one thing I'm going to say to you, and here's the reality. Right, there's a difference between like debate and evangelism and like ministering towards people. I knew a Jehovah's Witness personally in my life, and through God's glory and God's grace, he's become a Trinitarian. And it wasn't through me debating him that happened. He watches this channel. He's a really good friend of mine. Maybe through watching this channel, he's changed his perspective. I'm not entirely sure. I actually haven't sat down and fully explained it. We'd sit and have conversations. The important aspect of that conversation is that we did it in like a loving way with an understanding that we could be offensive in each other's viewpoints and still walk through it. The one thing that we both focused on though is in those conversations, we still loved on each other. We still prayed for each other and with each other, and those were two things. And so like there's a mutual understanding and respect. And sometimes we have to realize that the work that we do is only because of God's love and God's grace. So we have to trust that if they truly are seeking God and truly loving God, that if you simply love on them, that God will help you walk through it. God will give you the words to speak, and then the revelation will be given to them. So you can go through 1,000,001 verses and people could just hand wave them and just go, well, Jesus says this here and there and there. And you get into like this debate, but you're talking about your family. And so don't debate your family, love on your family, walk with your family, and hope that God will give them the revelation that they need. Go through these verses, right? Like just like, hey, let's discuss it. Let's sit down and have a conversation. Go through it and be like, hey, well, what do you think when he says here? They can give you your answer. And then at the end, pray together to like come to the understanding of truth.
Okay, thank you. It was really nice to speak with you. Have a nice day.
All right, man. God bless. Am I laggy on TikTok? It looks laggy on my end. But everywhere else is smooth as heck. Shush. I was trying to open up the TikTok so I can see if it's laggy on your guys' end. No, it's good.
The TikTok.
The TikTok arena. TikTok arena says high computer load detected. Learn how to reduce it. It shouldn't be a high computer load.
No.
We got a brand new graphics card. Should handle it, no problem.
Password is 12345.
Yeah, password's 12345. Let's just. I'm just gonna look at my real quick my task manager and see what it says. High computer load. I'm only using 60% and 50%. You need to calm down, TikTok. You need to calm down. Andrew, I'm going to block you now. That's the fourth time you've come up without a mic. Taco, hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you? Taco? Let me refresh. It might be me. It's been doing that lately. Taco? There you are. How old are you? All right, happy birthday. All right, come on, man. What do you want to ask me?
I came to ask you about the more guns topic, and the specific question would be
don't say the G word, say pew pew.
The boom stick topic.
Yeah.
And my question would be, do you think it is a universal that one ought not own those type of sticks, or do you think it is a personal, or is it more of just a personal, you do not think that you want to own them?
Weren't you in the debate on Discord about this when we did it?
Yeah, but
didn't we resolve it then?
Not really.
I thought we did. I thought we all agreed.
No, I said I thought you were consistent. I never said I thought you were right.
I think in an ideal world, universally, we shouldn't possess it, but we don't live in an ideal world.
So that means you would say that is in that case be a good thing or a not good? In the world we live in, is it a good thing because we do not live in an ideal world to own them?
No, I wouldn't say it's a good thing. I just think I think it's one of those areas where it's really difficult to wrestle with, right? You probably don't want to possess something that is intended to unalive another human being for any reason, but there may be scenarios where it's like, yeah, it's better to have it than not have it. It's a very fickle and tricky thing to wrestle with. So I think in an ideal world, they don't exist, but we don't live in an ideal world. So I would say it's a universal claim, but in a universal world, we wouldn't have police officers either.
But I would disagree for, I'm going to probably not the best syllogism in the world, but the reason I would say it is premise 1, God's commands are good. Premise 2, God commands people to go to war. Premise 3, therefore going to war can be good. And
So,
if then
I think that's God's commands are good. Do you want to bite that bullet? Or is it God commands because he's good?
Well, I would say that God is good by nature, but nothing that God commands is a not good act. If you follow God's commands, you will never fully follow God's commands to 100% what he tells you. You will never do a bad thing.
Do you think that you should be allowed to sell your daughter as a slave?
I don't know.
Okay, well, God's command says that you can. Yeah.
He never said should.
It says you can,
says
though.
allows.
Do you think people should be allowed to do it?
No, probably not.
Right. So God says they were allowed to do it. If we follow God's commands, it's permissible. And then so you're going to say that is a good thing.
Statements. I would say follow God's ought statements because, for example, the war example, God doesn't say you can go to war. He specifically commands to go to war in many circumstances. Hold
on. Now everybody in the chat's getting mad at me. God did not. I'm not saying that God said that you ought to do it. God has set the parameters, says you can do it. Those are different. So God said that you can do it. My question for you is, do you think you can do it?
I would say no, probably not. I would say that's not necessarily a command, though. Because, for example, if it's
part of the 613 commandments.
I mean, that's like the list and title of them, but I would say that's more of a similarity of like, let's say you have a kid and they ask, hey, can I go to my neighbor's house? And they say, you can. No, and then, the kid goes over and said, my dad told me I have to go over to your house. That's a different thing. If I say you must go over to their house, that is a command. While the other one is an allowance. I would separate those into allowances and commands. I would say those aren't necessarily in the same category.
Yeah, so ought you follow God's commandments?
Ought you follow God's commandments? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. If God says it's allowed, should it be allowed?
If God says it should be allowed for a certain context, yes.
Okay. So if God said it's allowed that you should sell your daughter into slavery, should we allow people to sell their daughters into slavery?
If they allowed it for that instance, yes. In that society, they should have allowed it because God allowed them to allow it. I mean, it kind of... I think there is maybe it's not a good thing, but in an allowance sense, sure, why not?
Okay, so you separated into the society. Why are we separating into this different society?
Because God gives certain commands for certain societies. For example, obviously the thing you would say, those were commands for the Israelites. They are not universally binding into everyone today.
Okay.
There's certain commands that God gives to certain people.
Yeah. Should Israelites be allowed to sell their daughters into slavery?
Well, they don't live in the context of the time anymore, so no.
Yeah, what is the time change?
The time changes because there are commandments that are binding to a certain time and they're binding to or not.
Where do you get this? Where do you get this idea that the commandments are binding to a certain time?
Well, because it's known as the Old Covenant and the New Covenant. The Old Covenant
to Israel specifically, we're the Gentiles, right? Gentiles are given a different standard as per Acts, right? When were the Israelites given a different standard?
I forget specifically which verse, but Paul talks about it a lot. He is an Israelite, and he calls out that the fact that the binding acts of the old law are now not bound unto him. Therefore, there is a standard that because Jesus did this thing on the cross, brought forward the new covenant, that even the old laws are not binding unto the Israelites anymore.
Then why did Paul sacrifice animals?
Well, because as he said, I forget which verse it is again, but he said to the Greeks, they become Greek, to the Jews, they become Jews, et cetera, et cetera. He was doing it so that they would trust him in their own societies, not because it is a requirement for him to do those acts.
Okay, so it's not binding, but he's allowed to do them.
In a certain sense.
Okay, so God still permits people to follow the old law.
Certain aspects of the old law, I think, yeah.
Why you just
for
keep
the
you keep
example, this-
separating certain aspects? Where do you get these separation in the law? And how do you determine which aspects can you follow and can you not follow?
Well, the legal code, the ceremonial code, and the
What ceremonial code? There's
moral
nothing
code.
in scripture that talks about a ceremonial moral code.
Not specifically, but it's like in terms of how we would separate each law. It's more of a descriptor rather than a prescriptor.
Yeah, so
it's
where do
like
you
a
get that
description of
understanding from?
Well, I would say actually, I don't. You're kind of right. I don't have a great separation there.
Yeah, that's just something that the church came up with much later, as this idea of the separation of the laws and the understanding of them. If we go into the scripture, right, there is no separation. There's the law. So if you're going to make the argument that we could have pew-pews because God permitted us to go to war and therefore war is a good thing, I think you're going to have to bite a lot of bullets where it's like, yeah, well, it's a good thing that we should be allowed to sell our daughters into slavery. Not that we ought to do it, but that we can do it.
Yeah, that's fair. I also think there's a contextual thing about it, though, as in we have better ways to deal with debts now, but they didn't have better ways to deal with debts then. Like it was the
Debts?
only option.
Or
Debts, like as in monetary debt, people oftentimes sold themselves and their families into slavery because they owed a debt that they could
Sure.
not repay.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. But we're not talking about whether they should or should not do it. We're talking about whether they can. And you're saying they can't. So you're going against God's commandment there. But then you're using God's commandment to permit yourself to have a pew-pew.
You're right. You're fair on that one. I guess I'll revise the syllogism saying you will never do anything, I would say maybe immoral. So you may not do something good, but you will never do anything immoral if you completely follow God's commandments, given the context of the time that they were supposed to be understood in.
I don't understand what you're saying there. Can you rephrase it?
I would say, well, I would explain it by there are good acts, neutral acts, and immoral acts. If you follow God's commandments or God's commandments fully, you will never do an immoral act. You may do neutral or good acts, but you will never do an immoral act.
If I follow God's commandments fully, I will never do a moral act. Is divorce immoral?
Divorce can be, I would say divorce generally is immoral.
Okay. Did Moses' law permit for divorce?
Moses' law permitted for divorce, yeah.
And Moses' law came from who?
Moses' law came from God.
There you go.
Well,
So if you follow the law to a T, right, you're permitted to do divorce, yet God is against divorce.
Well, that was an allowance for, I guess. I mean, he never commands divorce except in one specific case, though. So it's a difference of an allowance rather than a command.
Yeah, an allowance.
Like if you govern a society that allows for a divorce, you're not necessarily doing an immoral act. However,
should the church allow people to divorce because of their feelings?
Because of their feelings, no.
Okay. Did the Mosaic law allow for divorce because of your feelings?
I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So when we're saying we're ought claims and ought not claims, allowing something is an ought claim. Ought I allow this thing to happen?
Ought you allow it? Sure, why not?
Yeah. So it's still an ought claim, right? So the law of divorce is permitted in the Mosaic law, yet Jesus says this is not a good thing. It's not the way it should be. So appealing to the Mosaic law for some sort of moral justification that if we follow it perfectly, we'd be moral, I don't think follows.
Well, I don't say that I wasn't necessarily appealing to the Mosaic Law. I don't think the commands for war are part of the Mosaic Law. They're individual commands for an individual time.
Well,
However,
there are things in there like if a sojourner comes into your community and it preaches a God that's not yours, you should unalive them.
well, yeah, but I'm
That's an
saying
ought claim. Ought we do that?
I mean, if given the context of the time, yes, because at the time, there are commands that are like specific people and specific times, not to be universally binding.
Well, remember,
Those
you're trying to use this commandments to permit yourself to have pews today. So is it for the specific time and period or no?
Well, I'd say that one is for a specific time and period. However, the point is that it is not if we can apply the same standard of, like, for example, war, and if we see that God commands and allows for destruction during war, if we can see those same contextual variables today, we can also say that, okay, if the same context applies today, it would be fair to assume that it is okay today.
Okay, so if I see somebody come into my community and they start rapidly converting Christians away from God, should I unalive them?
It depends on how they're converting them.
Just through conversation.
Probably not, but I'm not 100%
Okay.
confident on that one.
So
If
even
it's maybe it wouldn't be.
So if we take the context and apply it to today, you wouldn't say yes to that, but you would say to applying the context for war and apply it today, you'd say yes to this. So then you're not consistent.
Well, that's where I said I don't know. I think there is actually an argument for that, especially if the religion is like, for example, if the religion, for example, which was the religions of back then, were like specifically promoting, hey, if your child, sacrifice them to Baal, burn them alive. I think there is an argument if there's a rapid conversion of your community where there would cause a great amount of child sacrifice. There is actually an argument to say that would be
the one example that we do have, or a few examples, but one of the biggest examples we do have is that there was a tribe of other people who worshipped other gods and came and slept with the Israelites. The Israelites had relations with them, and doing their relations, they were enticed to go follow other gods. So what happened is somebody stuck a spear in the back of one of the other people and was blessed for it because one of those were one of the people drawing them away. In this scenario, if we see a Christian be enticed by a woman and that woman is drawing him towards Allah, for example, should I stick a spear in her back?
Probably not.
Right. So again, appealing, saying, hey, we see it in this situation. And then we can also look at the ought claims of Jesus. Ought said, blessed are the peacemakers. If you live by the sword, you die by the sword. If somebody comes to take your shirt, you give them your jacket as well. Right? These are the commandments of Christ.
I mean, Christ also said, sell your cloak and buy a sword. And that there is also, again, you probably know I'm Catholic.
And rebuked Peter for using it.
He rebuked Peter for using it, not in the sense that it was bad for him to offend him. The specific thing he said was, why are you trying to, essentially summarized quote thing, why are you preventing me from doing my job? It was not that it was a bad thing for him to defend Jesus, to defend his friends. It was bad because Jesus had a job to do. Peter knew Jesus had a job to do when he was trying to prevent Jesus from doing the job.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of extra text you threw in there that isn't there. All I see is that he said, take a sword. Right, sell your belongings, take a sword with you. They come to take Jesus. Peter strikes out in an act of self-defense because these aren't the Roman guards. These are the Pharisee guards, the temple guards that come to take him. Chops off his ear. Jesus rebukes him and then heals the man.
I mean, I can pull up the specific verse, but I think it's he specifically says that Jesus specifically rebuked Peter, saying that it was because Peter was not trying to do his job, and I'm trying to pull up to the verse.
Baby, can you get me another cup of coffee, please?
Yes.
You know what's the funny thing is about all you guys with your pew pews? I'm probably the most violent person out of all of you people, and I'm the one appealing to the least violence. I've probably seen more violence than most of you guys.
Yeah, but if there is
I just
someone in
think there's
front of
irony
you
in
that, if there is someone in front of you that has a gun, it is
Pew pew.
a pew pew. It is better to have one to defend yourself than rather than not. Oh my gosh, why is the okay, do you know John 18? Cool. Mm, okay, cool. P- Yes, okay, so John 18:11,
Mhm.
Jesus rebukes Peter specifically saying, quote, Jesus commanded Peter, put your sword away. Shall I not drink of the cup that the Father has given me? So
Mhm.
he's not rebuking Peter for defending him. He rebukes Peter specifically for trying to prevent Jesus from doing his job, essentially,
Why'd he heal the man's ear?
because he's merciful and kind.
Okay.
I mean, if Jesus can, protect people who don't deserve it. I mean, we do it all he does it for us all the time.
I'm just saying. Blessed are the peacemakers. If a man comes to take your jacket, give him your shirt, give him your jacket as well. If that man demands that you walk a mile with him, walk two.
If killing a serial
Unaliving.
killer in your town, unaliving a serial killer in your town brings peace to the town, would that not be being a peacemaker? I mean, Jesus is going to bring peace to the world by throwing billions of people into hell.
Yeah, and again, so now we're getting into that area what I was talking about at the start of the conversation, where I was like, yeah, in an ideal world, we don't have pew pews, but we don't live in an ideal world, and so there are certain scenarios where, yeah, a pew pew maybe is something that is a thing that somebody should use. For example, police officers, military. I think that it's better that they have the pew pews, but I don't really. And now we're getting into the whole thing that we debated on the Discord thing. Individuals, I probably think is better if we don't.
The problem I think with that standard is we, again, as you said, we don't live in an ideal world. Therefore, like for example, even if we bring it to a lesser thing, let's say a person is trying to attack my mom and I
Mhm.
punch them, I would say because of the context of what was happening, you could argue that it was a good thing that I punched that person.
No,
I mean, if we don't live in it, why not?
I don't think it's a good thing that you punch the person. That's not a good thing.
I would say it's a good thing based on the context. Like,
No, you say it's a good consequence. It's a good outcome. You prevented your mother from being harmed, and there's a justice that happened there. You could say it's a just thing. I wouldn't say it's a good thing.
I'm not. I guess
Is
that's more of
violence good?
it can be good, yes.
No. Just like in a strictly logical sense, is violence good? Is that true or false?
I don't think you can really, because like violence always has a context behind it. I don't think you can really, like, is drinking water good?
Yes.
Sure. Or if
Drinking
you're
water is
drowning,
good.
if you're submerged 100 feet in the ocean, is having water go into your mouth good?
No, that's not drinking water. That's drowning. Drinking
I
water is
mean, you're
good.
still drinking water.
Drinking water is good. The aspect of drowning
I,
is not good. And drowning is a violent action. So you just said violence is not good.
I would say more that I was trying to put them more that the context in which the action is happening determines if it's good or bad.
Yeah, so again, you gave an example of drowning. Drowning is not drinking.
Okay, I guess that's fair. I still think it's more of a contextual thing, though, that you have to determine the context of each action to determine if it's a good or bad act. Like if walking is good, but if I'm like walking over someone, it's bad. Like the context
but
in which the
again, you're
scenario
changing. You're
around it.
changing the thing. Walking is good. Walking on people isn't good because you're hurting people. You're hitting them, right? So you're not changing the thing, or the context, or you're not changing the thing. The thing in itself is still good because it's good for your health, right? You're changing and you're adding another thing to it. You're walking end. So walking end this thing is not good.
I don't know. Couldn't you say the same thing for then like pavement? You're walking and pounding in the pavement. If the
No, I
It's
think
this-
that's
it's this-
just it's a tautology. Pounding the pavement is just another verb for walking.
no, I mean like specifically like pressing in the pavement of the ground. It is like
That's
that
just a
and
tautology. What are you talking about, man?
you don't have. That's not a tautology.
It is
If
a
you
tautology.
can walk over. You can
What
walk
is
over
walking
anything.
if not pushing pressure into the ground?
I was saying specifically like in terms of like sidewalks. Like you're breaking the sidewalk. It's like tiny micro cracks.
The sidewalk's purpose and design is to be walked on. That's wear and
Yes,
tear.
so that's what I'm saying. The context of which the action is happening determines if it is a good action or not. The context, the sidewalk is designed to be walked on.
Yeah, it's not
So
changing the
therefore-
context. Walking is still good. What are you talking about, bro? Come on, man. Walking on a sidewalk, right? A sidewalk is purposely designed to be walked on, and there's going to be wear and tear that happens onto it. There's nothing immoral about breaking a sidewalk.
That's what I'm saying. The context in which you are, the thing in which you are walking on, the context around the walking determines if it is a good or bad action.
There's no context.
There's
in
no
which
context that are
walking-
changing. You're just walking.
Yeah. And if you were walking on people instead of on the sidewalk, it would be bad. Walking
because
on
it would
the
involve
sidewalk is
people,
fine.
not because
Because you're putting force on people. Ought you put force on people that's violent force on people?
No, you ought not do that.
You ought not do that. Great. So it's walking end. Your end in there is putting violent force on people. So the thing that you would say no to here is do not put should you put violent force on people, true or false?
False.
Right.
So well, depends.
Right.
Well, if someone's like attacking my mom, I think one ought to put violent force on people. It's that person.
Yeah, I'm saying there's a justification. Justifications and justice does not mean it's a good thing. Do you think for it to be good, do you think when God made the Garden of Eden, he designed the world with the intent for us to do violence?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, step right up and see the debate of the century, stoppable force v. movable object.
Can I be the movable object?
I don't know what he was trying to say there. But yeah, do you think that
He's
when
saying
God
we
made the
both
Garden
suck.
of Eden, he made it with the intent of violence?
In the Garden of Eden, no.
No. The ultimate goal, when we get the New Jerusalem, is there going to be any violence?
No.
Okay, so then if there's going to never be violence, and that's the ultimate goal and standard, right? That's the ultimate highest possible achievement. Is violence good?
In the idealist universal, no.
Right. Okay. So then if it's not good, then it's not good.
Is there not contextual goods though? Because in the ideal, let's say, Garden of Eden, no one ever left, God wouldn't have died. That doesn't mean God died. You can say, because if you want to go specifically argue about the ideal, you would have to then say Jesus dying and saving us is a bad act.
No.
because it would
And
not
there's an
happen
end
if everyone
statement
stayed in
there.
Garden of
There's an
Eden.
end statement, right? You're talking about what's the word I'm looking for? A conjunct. A conjunct means that both statements have to be true to equal the thing. So when you put in the end statement, you're changing it. Is death good?
I'm going to ask for your specific definition and context of death there, because obviously if you die, you get to heaven, and that can be a good thing.
Okay, so when Adam and Eve sinned against the world and they introduced death, that was good?
No. Okay,
Okay.
that's what you mean it, then no.
Yeah, so death is not good.
Yes, so, but I'm saying that the context of which death is someone going to heaven a good thing.
That's a consequent. Are you a consequentialist?
I think there is some consequence, not necessarily. I was trying to more say that the context around an action still determines if it's good or
Okay.
bad.
So you're saying death is good because it can send you to heaven. Should we start abortions?
No,
Why? It would send every one of those children to heaven.
Because we are not the author of life and death, therefore we do not have the determining factor
But
if
it's
someone
the
lives or dies.
consequentialist. It would be the ultimate sacrifice, right? The ultimate
Well,
sacrifice
now
is you give up your space in heaven, and you choose to go to hell to save so many souls and send them to heaven by aborting as many children as possible.
well, the context around the action again is that God said we are not the author of life
Yeah,
and death.
disobey
God.
disobey God, and send as many babies as you can to heaven, because that would be the higher possible good, because you're a consequentialist at this point. So you're saying death is good because it can send you to heaven.
I never said I was a consequentialist. I was just saying that the
You said in
context
some
around
situations, consequentialism is the standard. That's what you said.
Well, I'm saying in some situations you can go to appeal to consequentialist outcomes. For example,
Okay.
the trolley problem. If you have to press a button, everyone dies if you don't. You have to press the button. Either 2 people die or 5 people die. Every single person dies if you don't. The better action in that case would be pressing the button that 2 people die.
Okay. Is it the better action that one person goes to heaven and a whole bunch of, 1,000 people go to heaven and one person goes to hell?
Is the other option that 1,000 people go to hell and only one person goes to heaven?
No, this situation, right, is the better option, right, for 1,000 people to go to heaven and one person to go to hell. Is that the better option?
Better option compared to what?
Is that a good option? Because you just gave the trolley problem, right? You hit a button, right? Is it a better thing that, like, either I'm going to go to heaven, right, and I can go to hell and guarantee 1,000 other people go to heaven. If I don't go to hell.
Are you not using a false dichotomy? Either violence is good or bad, but the third option of it's neutral, and depends on how it's acted upon. Was violence good during the Civil War to end slavery?
No, the violence wasn't good. But now what was I saying? Okay, so here's the option. Option 1, I unalive a whole bunch of babies. They all go to heaven guaranteed because they're small and they haven't committed any sin, and I go to hell. Option 2, I don't unalive a whole bunch of babies. Some of them go to heaven, some of them go to hell, but I get to go to heaven. And so ultimately we end up with less people in heaven. Ought I unalive the babies?
No.
Why? That's the trolley problem.
Because God said you ought not to do, because the determining factor that I said in that case is now you have the example I would give in return is God said you should, knew as God.
That's included in my analogy, because the reason I'm going to hell is because I disobeyed God.
I'd say one not ever ought disobey God. That's part of the universal standard, no matter what.
But the consequent here is more people get to go to heaven. So you said death can be a good thing because people get to go to heaven.
Death can be seen as a good thing because one gets to go to heaven.
Yeah, I don't care what it's seen as. Is it good? Is death good?
I know this is going to be, I'm trying to think. I don't have a great answer to that question, even like in a non-argumentative sense.
Dog, if you say death is good, you're going against the entire narrative of Christianity. You don't want to say that. The entire narrative of Christianity is that Adam and Eve sinned, introduced death into the world, which is the ultimate bad, and then God saves us and brings us eternal life. That's the gospel. If you say death is good, you reject the gospel.
Okay, death as in the deceasing of the body, that in terms of, but you get to live forever. That's obviously death as in that context. Yeah, that's bad. Because you have to define death here. Like, is it the ending of, for example, is it the ending of the perishing of the body, but your soul lives forever? Because then you don't ever actually die then. Because you have eternal life the second you accepted Jesus.
Is death good?
No.
Yeah, we've got so lost in the sauce on that one. I don't even remember why we brought that up, the death point.
And you could argue that the context of I think we got there by arguing that the context in which you could argue that an action that ends someone's life is good if the context surrounding it is a justifiable act.
Yeah, so death is not good. It's a bad thing. We ought not have it. Our ideal world is not to have it. Now, there's a difference between justifications and it actually being good. Justice is to bring something back to its standard in the way it's supposed to be.
Is justice good?
Oh my God. All right, man. Appreciate you. I'm moving on. I love you, Taco. Starting to get a headache. That's why I don't like to argue with my own people. J Money. Hello, how are you? Just real quick, how old are you?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yep. How old are you?
20.
Okay. What do you want to ask me?
Ooh, I don't know. I got a headache too from the last call. What do I want to ask you? Good question.
Well, when you figure it out, come back up. Melons. Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
Hello, I am 25.
All right, man. What do you want to ask me?
I want to ask that what's your opinion about the biblical monster in the Bible? Because the Nephilim, and this is not a gotcha. I'm a Christian, but this is something that I also quite struggling, because I'm a big fan of history, and this is something that that I see that something.
What's your
that
question, bro?
maybe what's your opinion about the biblical monster that is in the Bible, for example, the behemoth and other.
What?
No, I want to know your opinion about what's about what's the Bible say, because some people interpret this
I still have no clue. That was like 4 times. I want your opinion on what? On what, man? Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
Doing well, 42. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. What do you want to ask me?
I wanted to kind of address maybe the moral argument with you, but just real quick, I have to get your opinion on your call with the, I'm assuming, the Christian. Did you feel a little cringe the amount of times you use the word context in your guys' conversation, or is that just me?
No, I don't think he's a friend. He's a good friend of mine. I like the guy. I don't think it's.
Oh no, I'm not his personality. I'm just talking about the use of the word context, kind of a respond to a lot of your questions that I felt were pretty legit. No, okay.
I don't think it's cringe. No.
Oh, all right, just checking. Yeah. So the morality question, I guess. In your opinion, what was the most moral thing God did in the Bible?
This is a real question.
Yeah, for sure. I think yes.
I haven't put any thought. I haven't put any thought into it.
Well, now put some thought into it. What do you think of all the things God is credited with doing in the Bible? What do you think the most moral thing He did in the Bible was?
Yeah. How do you measure morality?
Well, I think it's subjectively assessed, but based on opinion, culture, and kind of
obsessed.
That's assessed, yeah.
Yeah.
How do I?
So I'll just then won't give my opinion because it's subjective.
Wait, what?
I won't give my opinion because it's subjective.
You won't give your opinion because it's subjective?
Mm-hmm. You're asking me to measure God's morality based off my subjective opinion. I'm not gonna risk that.
What's the risk?
Blasphemy.
Oh, I didn't think I was asking you to do that. I was just wondering, in your opinion, God is attributed to doing a lot of things in the Bible, and I was just of the things He's attributed to doing. What do you consider to be the most moral thing He did? I thought that'd be an easy question. I'm sorry. No.
So, do you have another question?
That was my big question. I wasn't expecting. I thought there would be a conversation to follow. I wasn't expecting you to not answer the question. Yeah, that was the one I had for you, Big John.
All right, man. God bless.
God bless.
It does feel like a risky question.
It feels like a trap, but also there is the chance of blasphemy, man. You imagine if I say, "Hey, this is the best thing God ever did," and it happened to not be, and I go against God.
Can you mute my mic for a minute?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Christian, hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
45.
All right, man.
And
What do you want to
yes,
ask me?
thank you for taking.
No problem.
So I have a couple of questions. The first being, so I'm on my path, right, to hopefully being a convert to Christianity.
Okay.
The first might be a very simplistic uh, question, or it might be, I don't know. It's something I can't get over. So obviously, I was taught evolution in school. I don't really buy that, but I feel there's a lot of evidence for it. My question would be, my first is,
Can
how long
you
do you
do you
think
got headphones
that
plugged in or
Adam?
something?
Oh,
It's really hard to hear you. Make
I
you out.
do. Sorry, brother. Sorry, brother. Yeah,
Yeah.
forgive me.
Can,
One moment, please.
thank
Hold
you.
on. Sorry. Is this better,
It's louder.
sir? Hello.
Still pretty fuzzy.
Okay. Well, I sorry. So my first question is, like, how long do you feel that Adam?
I'm sorry, man. The connection is just too bad. I'm gonna have to jump on. I don't know how you got your camera turned on, but you need to turn it off. Okay, goodbye. Because I have no clue what you're going to show me or share with me. That's it for I'm freaking. I thought AMA was going to be more relaxed. And then now now I'm wondering about you guys. You guys all trust me when I defend the position that you're all in, but as soon as I defend a position that you guys don't agree with on me, then all of a sudden I'm straw manning, and all of a sudden I am giving false dichotomies and I'm wrong. All of a sudden I'm doing a whole bunch of fallacies when I go against what you think is right, but when I'm defending your guys' positions, I'm not. Explain that one to me. Toronto Bible Study. Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
48.
I didn't. All right, man. What do you want to ask me?
I wanted to ask you about what do you think is the condition for receiving eternal life?
Confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, believe in your heart that God rose him from the dead, and you will be saved.
Okay. That's from Romans 10:9, right?
Yep.
10:9 to 10. But then earlier in Romans, he says that the believer in Jesus is justified. And even in that passage, he says, when you believe with your heart, you're righteous.
Is an AMA just
And
for
then,
Christians to come up and fight with me about things that they wanted to fight with me about? Is that what AMA
well,
means to you
it's
guys?
important.
No, I want to know. Is that what AMA means to you guys? Is that AMA, hey, Christians, go up and fight with John about the things you disagree with him about theology, even though all you guys know that John doesn't do infighting?
What do you mean infight? I don't know. You didn't do that. I don't talk about infighting. I'm just talking about discussion of these important issues in soteriology.
Jay, hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you? Jay.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How old are you?
All right, sorry. There's a bit delayed in my end. Hi. Yeah, AMAs are not supposed to be that way as far as I'm aware, so I feel bad for you, man. But do you feel like discussing like a meta position or something like that? Because you seem like you really enjoy that, but you don't get to do it very often.
Sorry, did you tell me how old you were?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm 26.
All right, man. What's up? What do you want to talk? What meta position?
Yeah, so I was having a conversation recently with a friend of mine. We were talking about like semantics, and I think I'm more like a semantic realist. I think of words as like having boxes of content, so that there's like is a definite meaning to the word. Are you familiar with like the two earths, two waters problem or whatever?
No. What's that?
Okay, so it's like it goes like this. So if you're not a semantic realist, then you think that like words are only like useful tools that like map onto stuff in the outside world that people like move towards figuring out, but there's never like a definite meaning. It doesn't mean that like you can't have a normative use, right? So the two Earths thing is, you imagine you have a completely cloned parallel
Oh
world.
yeah, I do know this problem. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
but go ahead. It's the one where it's like
Yeah,
water. Water is technically different, but it has the same semantic meaning, right?
Yes, everything is the same except it's not H2O, it's X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I do remember, but it's a paradoxical problem, isn't it?
No, so I think that it doesn't mean that water, or that the word water doesn't have like a normative or definitive sense. It just means that someone's understanding of the word water is fallible and open to like discovery. So the box still holds like a definite, like if I went to that Earth and I asked for water,
They would give you
they're
X,
not
Y,
going to
Z.
give me. Correct. They're not going to give me the substance H2O, but they know what I mean when I say water. It's just different there.
Yep. Yeah. So how do we get? What do you mean by semantic realism then?
So as far as I understand it, that would make me a semantic realist, because I think that words have real definitive meaning and actually describe. They're not like lossy in that sense.
Wait. So are you saying the word in itself has an ontological truth?
The word that is a box contains definite ontological truth. Our understanding of ontological truth is fallible.
So I would say a word is just in association, like it's just it's in predicate to a referent, and the word, whatever that referent is whatever it means based off the individual's understanding of it.
So in that case,
so like
go ahead.
in world A, when I say to you water, the reference to that is H2O. In world B, when you say water, the reference to that is XYZ. And the issue isn't in the word itself. The issue is in the individual's understanding. So when you go to world A, what you're actually asking for when you say water is you're asking for H2O, but they always clearly understood it as XYZ. You know, just like how the FAG word means one thing in Europe, but it means a different thing in the United States.
Would somebody? This is my problem with that. Would somebody living in Aristotle's day, if they asked for water in whatever language that they were, speaking, Greek obviously, that was a stupid thing. But if someone asks for water and they don't know that it's H2O, are they still asking for H2O?
Well, the reference, based off their context, we understand, and then you're going to get down to like the problem of the one and the many, right? Well, H2O is also made up of things, and what are those things made up of? And basically, the problem of the one and the many is how do we give definitions to things without the underlying principles of what they're made out of? But I would say, yeah, their referent is they're asking for H2O based off the understanding and the context of the world that they live in.
So why can't I be asking for XYZ based on the context of the world that I'm living in, knowing that I've gone to another Earth?
Because we don't have any XYZ water.
Right, but that just shows that I'm ignorant. It doesn't show that water doesn't mean that.
What do you mean?
So if I go to my clone's world, right? In going, it's not like I wake up there and I don't know that I'm there, because that just throws so many wrenches.
You intentionally travel there, yeah.
Yeah. So I knowingly travel there and I ask for water, right? I drink it and it doesn't hydrate me. Maybe it poisons me. Who cares, right? Because it's not the molecule that I need, right? I still used water. What I'm getting at is I don't see how we can make sense of language or statements if we don't act the same way that like Aristotle says, like you try living without the law of non-contradiction. He kind of makes a pragmatic argument to defend it. I think that if I go to my clone world, I can't. I don't have a way of interacting with the clone world, even though everything else is the same, unless I treat water like it's water and then discover that it's different. Water still has a definite meaning. I just have to update my understanding based on the new information, which I would be prudent to do, given I know I'm going to an alternate world.
Yeah. But I'm just saying though, is it still not the case that water just has a specific referent towards it? Like there's a certain expectation when you say I ask for water.
What do you mean it doesn't have a specific?
Well, it's just in predication towards a specific thing. When you ask for water, you're asking for a specific thing in predication to all your understanding of what water is. Now, you take if you take a sample of world B and world A, and then you look at it and you say, well, this is XYZ and this is H2O, then you'd have to conclude that, well, maybe this is a water, but this would be water 0.2 or this would be water 0.1. The law of non-contradiction would state that they cannot be the same. Not non-contradiction. Sorry.
Right.
Law of identity.
Hmm. Even okay, so well, yes, if you took a very, I watched them on YouTube. You know, Fan in person. He talks about like there's ways of nuancing the law of identity where you treat it as where we have majority aspects, and so the law of identity is not broken, given that we understand that these aspects are here and there, and so we still say the thing. So there's one aspect, like, well, okay, so because you said ontology, so you're treating it right.
Law of identity has the problem of the one and the many, right? Basically, how do we define things and what encapsulates the one? Right. For us to know what the one is, we have to know what the totality of the many is and where the lines are. And some of those lines could be arbitrary, right?
Okay. So maybe what I'm doing is in my box for water, I'm prioritizing what someone would experience water to be, right? It's wet, it's fluid, it's clear, blah 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 blah. It turns into steam when you make it hot. That's water. And then the actual molecule that does that. Well, I guess would that make like on another planet?
Let's think about this too. Like, is this water?
Oh, I can't see what you're. Hang on, you're up to my ear. What are you holding up?
Is it water?
I'm assuming you're holding up a cup of liquid, and I'm going to say it's probably water. Yeah.
Well, it's coffee, but it would contain water. But in it, the problem of the one and the many, would we say it is water? Well, it contains the coffee molecule. So if I put those lines around the coffee molecule as well, we wouldn't say that it is water. We would say it is coffee, because coffee is the sum of its parts. The sum of its parts is H2O and whatever the coffee molecule is made out of. You still there? I'm going to refresh because I think it might have been me. We'll see if that fixes it. Are you there? No, I think I lost him. God bless. It was fun. That was much nicer. Fun conversation. Christian, hello. How are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
Yes, hi. I'm 45. Sorry for the connection issues earlier.
You still got the same connection problem.
Gosh, really?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Brother, man, is it clear at all to where I can ask a question or no?
No, I'm gonna jump on. I apologize.
All right, that's fine.
Icon, hello. How are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
Oh, hey, hello. I'm 19.
Hi, man. What do you want to ask me?
We talked before, right? If you remember me, Icon. If you
yeah, we bought you a book.
Yeah. Today, I mean, I've been studying, ever since we talked with Lamb and Lojon. Well, I mean, Lojon engaged, but like Lamb apologetics, right? We talked for a while about the metaphysics and a little bit about the epistemological approach, because you like more epistemology than meta, because it's like jargony and like Philbro. But today, like, I want to talk about meta with you. Like, I have a argument for God's existence that I've been working on, like my own formulation.
You went from not believing in God to now you're making your own formulation for God's existence? It's crazy.
Yes, sir.
All right. What's the argument?
God's amazing. Yeah. I promise I'm going to try to make it at least jargon as much possible. I'll try to clarify the terms. Then I actually named this argument as well. This argument has its own name. I just named it. I'm not sure if this is like formal out there, but I'm just going to tell you the name. The name of this argument is 4 words: asymmetrical, modal, ontological dependence. I know it's jargony, but that's the name. That's the name of the argument. So I'm not sure. Like, I've seen you put off premises before in like a document, right? I'm not sure if you want to do that. There's 6 premises and a conclusion for this argument. But you just want me to say it out?
Hold on.
Okay.
6 premises. My goodness gracious.
Yeah, this one is very.
What's the end?
Very, very, very new. I think it utilizes like modus ponens a couple times, and then maybe hypothetical syllogism. Yeah, hypothetical syllogism. I can't really say that right.
P1.
Yeah. All right, here we go. P1, my premises says logic is necessary. And by the way, just to give like a overview, this is the contingency argument in the metaphysical approach. But anyways, let's continue with the argument. So that's P1. Logic is P2. The physical universe is contingent. Okay. P3. Necessity exists in all possible worlds. And P4, contingency exists in some possible worlds. I mean, that's just obviously the implication. And by the way, this argument is very new, so like it might be up for critique. And for I didn't really peer reviewed it yet, or I didn't check it that much often. I just check it a couple times. So this is like very raw and new, so you can critique it. Anyways, okay, P5. This one is where the hypothetical syllogism starts. So okay, if where a world X exists, so X will be like a variable, just like X. Wait, I think I wrote it wrong here. If I were, give me 1 second. If I were exists before X exists, exists but where somewhere exists but not X, then X. Where X exists. More. Oh, okay, so if in world X exists and Y exists.
Wait, what? What? If in world X exists what?
Like just exists, like X exists in a world.
If X exists in a world?
I think it's a bad like wait. So just say like if where X exists and Y exists. I mean, like Y exists where X exists. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say.
If X exists, then Y exists.
No. Like if where X exists, Y exists. Basically, like Y exists where X exists. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So if X exists in world A, then Y also exists in world A.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm. Yeah. Okay. And then this
hold
one
on,
is
hold on.
Yeah. Maybe write that down first.
What is X and Y here?
Just like it will be a variable just for contingency and necessity, but they'll be used later. This one is more like a relationship layout first.
But so is X necessity?
No, I think in this case, I think X will be contingency in my formulation.
So I'm going to change it. If contingency exists in world A, then necessity also exists in world A.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then basically, I have a weird conjunction. I said, but yeah, it's basically you basically summarized my whole premise 5, because basically what I wrote in premise 5 is that if where X exists, Y exists, but some worlds that Y exists, X does not exist. Basically, I'm trying to say
hold
that.
On, are we on P6 now?
No, not yet. I'm trying to describe to you what my P5 was, but you kind of just
I just needed to clarify X and Y here, so I was familiar with what was being said.
Yeah.
So what's P6?
Okay, so P6 is that. I mean, it's kind of a jump because I haven't finished P5 yet, because I have like a den statement.
Wait, hold on. So P5 is more than this?
Yeah, there's more than this. Like you don't have to write then yet. Like you change the then to and. Like if C exists in a world A, and there's an and statement. I'm not done with the conjunction yet. I have a conjunction as well.
Well, you did say then. So if C exists in world A and N also exists in world A. But that's not an if. That's not an if statement then. That wouldn't work. You can't do if and N in the same statement because that's a material implication and a conjunct. Conjunct and material implication can't be in the same premise.
So I think I think your formalization is better. So maybe just write then. So if C exists in a world, then N also exists in a world. But then like because the thing is I'm trying to write in premise 5 is that like the second part is that but some worlds that Y exists, X does not exist. Basically, in some worlds that necessity exists, contingency does not exist. But I'm not sure where to put that.
Then you would disagree with premise 5 because your premise 5 entails that if contingency exists in world A, necessity also exists in world A, which means you cannot have a world without one or the other.
Well, no, like I'm saying this. Wherever contingency exists, necessity exists. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then but I'm also saying
in all places where in all places there are contingent things, there is a necessary thing.
Not all. It's a some statement. I said where contingency exists is where necessity exists, but it's not an all statement that
is an all statement. In a place where contingency exists, necessity exists. That's an all statement. In all situations where contingency exists, all places necessity exists.
But not where all necessity exists, that contingency exists is what I'm trying to say. I'm not sure how to formulate that. But you're right. You're right.
Yeah, that's fine. You could also, but that again, if you were doing like a Venn diagram, it would be true that in all places where contingency exists, necessity exists. But that doesn't mean it's true that in all places where necessity exists, contingency exists.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's basically what I'm trying to say in premise 5, and premise 6 is where the ontological grounding comes in. But yeah, that's basically if you can put that in premise 5. Okay. Should we move on to premise 6?
Yeah. This sentence works for what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. So premise 6, what I'm trying to say basically, I know it's still a formulation that needs to be worked on, but what I'm trying to say in premise 6, I'm saying that like if X cannot exist without Y, but this is a relationship description. If X cannot exist without Y, but Y can exist without X, then X is ontologically dependent on Y, which means Y is ontologically prior to X.
Slow down, man. You expect me to get that all down? You're going 2,000 miles a minute. Okay, so if contingency cannot exist without necessity,
I'm not sure if but can be used like as a conjunction because I said but necessity can exist without contingency.
It would be an end statement.
Okay.
So it'd be like it'd be a conjunct, right? It'd be if consistency can exist without necessity, and necessity can exist if consistency cannot exist without necessity, and necessity can exist without consistency. It's hard to say.
No, I think you meant contingency or consistency. Contingent, right?
Contingency, yeah. And necessary can exist without contingency.
Then the then statement, the consequent would be then necessity is ontologically. Or sorry. Let me. I put it the other way around. Then contingency is ontologically dependent on necessity. In my formulation, I wrote then X is ontologically dependent to Y, but that's the same thing.
Why did I write it twice? Is
logically dependent. And it basically follows if something is ontologically dependent on something, then the thing it is ontologically dependent on is prior. So necessity is ontologically prior to contingency.
Is that part of the syllogism or the conclusion?
It's basically just tautology, basically. But it's just like it's true that just like something's ontologically dependent, then therefore that thing is ontologically prior.
Okay, so what's the conclusion?
So the conclusion is that completing the hypothetical syllogism, if necessity exists in all possible worlds, including, I mean, this one's just like a overlap of what I said.
I just realized I did the wrong then because somebody called me out on it.
Oh yeah. I was like, well, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, just to complete.
Conclusion?
Yeah, just to complete the hypothetical syllogism will just be like, if necessity exists in all possible worlds, including where contingency exists in some possible worlds.
Well, you don't need to include that second part. If
Yeah,
n
yeah,
exists in all possible worlds, that would include a world that has contingency.
Yeah, the consequent of that hypothetical syllogism conclusion is just basically therefore, or then necessity is ontologically prior to contingency. That is ontologically dependent. That's basically the consequent. And basically, just to summarize where this argument actually gets at is because, just to let you understand a little bit, right? The definition of God as like us theists, when we argue or present an argument to an atheist or agnostic, or we say definition of God is a necessary mind responsible for the existence of the physical universe. So I'm not sure if you agree with me on this, but like I think in the philosophical approach, there's two horns that you have to get to God. So there's like you have to establish necessity in reality, and you have to establish a mind that is that necessity. If you can do that, then we have theism, and atheism will be false. If you agree with me, do you agree with me?
I don't know.
If we can
Going through
establish
your premises, man, you're going so fast.
Sorry, but yeah, the conclusion is basically necessity is ontologically prior to contingency.
Hold on.
Sorry.
If contingency exists in world A, then N also exists in world A. If C cannot exist without N, and N cannot exist without together or separate. Without N, and N cannot exist without C, then C is ontologically dependent on N.
Yeah.
If N exists in all possible worlds, then N is prior to, well, that just, if N exists in all possible worlds, then N is prior to C, that is ontologically dependent. Okay, sure. I feel like this is doing a lot of work that it doesn't need to do, though.
Which part do you think I can reduce the redundancy to? I guess all I'm trying to say is
I don't think the argument is necessary. In general, like necessary things just seem to be like an axiomatic truth. Like it's like a universal agreement. There's not many people I've never ran into anybody who thinks that necessary things don't exist.
Oh really? Oh, okay.
All this does is get us to some sort of necessity.
Yeah, but my argument establishes the hypothetical syllogism of ontological dependence, because like okay, people might think necessity exists in reality, like atheists might think that, but they don't believe in ontological dependence of the contingency.
The thing is, like, if somebody doesn't think there's necessary things, they're just going to disagree with your first premise, and then your whole argument falls apart. Also, logic is necessary is just kind of like unnecessary in this argument. There's like nothing about logic in this argument, so it's like there for no reason.
Well, I'm just saying that the all I'm trying to say that like I'm just trying to bring out an example of being of a thing of necessity that can be a variable that we can say that like the contingent universe is dependent upon. Now, I know there's arguments that says like logic is God's nature, so therefore, I mean, the argument becomes like a necessary mind.
Yeah, but I'm saying
like,
people can agree with P2 all the way to P6, but not agree with P1 because P1 is not included, right? This like logic is not antecedent or a consequent in the entire premise. It's unnecessary. You wouldn't use it in an argument.
I'm not sure if I understand you. Are you saying logic is
logic the antecedent of the consequent?
I'm not. I I don't understand that question. I'm not going to pretend like I do.
Right.
What do you mean by that?
So in your argument, right, you have an antecedent and a consequent. You have like the idea and the idea that it leads to, and you're substantiating that as you go.
Yeah.
Logic here is just arbitrarily kind of thrown into this argument. It doesn't lead into the next premise. It doesn't follow. The conclusion isn't there. Like I could get the same argument and remove the first premise. Like if I remove this premise, the argument stays the same. The physical universe is contingent. Necessity exists in all possible. I'd move it around, right? You'd say maybe P1 is like necessary things exist. The physical universe is contingent. Necessity exists in all possible. No, yeah, I'd even take P3 and put it on P1 and then P2. Like,
I think the
argument just
yeah. Well, I think I can explain. I think the reason I put logic as like an example of necessity is because like people are going to get confused and conflate between there's a famous conflation. I forgot the name. Is the conflation between I forgot now. Is the modal and the it's not coming to mind. Is the conflation between modality. So in the topic of modality, you have contingency and necessity, right? Like those things are just in modality itself. But like if you don't draw out an example in the real world in reality, it's just going to be like a
but that's
really true.
That's when you're going to substantiate your premises, right? So people are going to like, oh, I disagree with premise one. Can you substantiate that? And then you're going to say, well, logic is necessary. Do you agree with that? And they're going to say yes or no. Now you're substantiating your premise, but you don't just throw it in as a premise beforehand.
I guess I'm not sure how to explain it. I have to find a better way to explain that. But basically, why I'm doing that is because I'm just trying to say that here's an example of a necessity, and that grounds the universe.
That's fine informally, but you're trying to give me a formal argument.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is not a formal argument.
Sure, I mean it's badly formulated. I agree. I should improve on that. But it's like, do you get the idea that like there's an example that you can draw in the world that some necessity exists that grounds contingency?
Well, logic wouldn't ground I would disagree with that because I wouldn't use logic to ground contingency. Logic doesn't ground contingency.
But you would say logic is necessary, no?
I think logic is necessary, but it doesn't ground contingency. That's what I'm trying to tell you. This premise is useless in this argument.
Well, we established that necessity grounds contingency, and if logic is necessary, then
we haven't established that. I just agreed with that. That's different.
But is it valid that the argument that necessity grounds contingency in that argument that I gave?
So necessity can ground contingency, but that doesn't mean all necessary things ground all contingent things. So that it could be the case that all contingent things are grounded by something necessary, but that doesn't mean that all necessary things ground contingent things. That would go against your premise where you would say that there can be a universe where there is a necessary thing and without a contingent thing. Because if there's a universe where there is a necessary thing and without a contingent thing, then it wouldn't be there'd be the case that there are some necessary things that do not ground contingent things.
Can you say that subset statement again? You said all x is y, but not all y is x. Can you say that again? I want to catch that.
So your argument, remember, if C cannot exist without N and N can exist without C, then C is ontologically. So there can be a necessary thing without a contingent thing, right?
Yes. Yes.
Right. So logic here is a necessary thing that doesn't ultimately necessitate a contingent thing.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. Are you saying that just because logic is necessary, it doesn't necessarily means that it will ground contingency?
Yeah, what I'm saying is your first premise has nothing to do with contingency because logic can exist without contingent things. Logic exists in all possible worlds, right?
Yes.
Right, but there are possible worlds where contingent things don't exist.
Yes.
Right, so then logic doesn't necessarily mean it grounds contingent things.
It doesn't. Logic doesn't. I think we're hitting a equivocation there. I think possible worlds, yes, but like it necessarily grounds the contingency. Like it necessarily, like this is the confusion of the meta language. Like when we say necessary, I think we mean that like necessity as in like because okay, I think I've got the confusion here. Necessity, I mean like a necessary thing. I'm not just talking necessity as in like a modality in being. I'm talking about like the thing that is necessary, like God, like
what is
God's
your
nature,
what
like
is your
logic.
premise one doing?
Just establishing an example for a necessity.
Okay.
Something that is necessary.
Okay. The logic exists necessarily. Does logic ground contingency?
Yes, if necessity grounds contingency.
How does logic ground? Well, you already stated that there are some necessary things that do not ground contingent things. So how does logic ground contingent things?
Isn't that based on the other premises I'll give, or unless you want to push back?
No, your other premise says there are necessary things that can exist without contingent things. I'm telling you, logic is a necessary thing that can exist without contingent things. So how you're saying it's not? How does it?
I'm saying where contingency exists is where logic has to ground contingency.
Okay, so in all possible worlds where logic exists, do contingent things exist?
No, because it's contingent.
Right, so then logic is not necessary in this argument here.
Logic is not necessary. And you're using necessary in a sense that it is not necessary as in
no,
like...
I'm just saying this is a useless premise. You don't need it. Throw it away.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say.
But I mean, premise 2, right? The physical universe is contingent. That is also useless then, because then we're not establishing what is contingent and like an example of contingency and that's a necessary thing. Because premise 2, oh, sorry. Yeah, premise 2, like based on your, I'll say like, let's say discussion critique together. Then premise 2 would just be the same thing, right? Because premise 2, I'm saying the physical universe is contingent. Right.
Well, you know, your premise
example.
1, it just needs to be something different. Your premise 1 has to be that all contingent things require a necessary thing. The physical universe is a contingent thing. Necessity exists in all possible worlds. You could actually probably remove this. You could probably turn it into like a three premise syllogism. All contingent things require a necessary thing. The universe is contingent. Conclusion: the universe requires a necessary thing.
Ah, I see what you mean. So premise 1 maybe better put like all contingent things require a necessary thing. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Okay.
I think you're doing more work than you need to do here. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like you're overthinking it.
But if that's P1, then that sounds very similar to the conclusion that like because necessity requires. I mean, I'm sorry, because contingency requires necessity, but that goes through a process of proving through the premises that the ontological dependence, asymmetry, MOVA, whatever. So I feel like that's kind of isn't that not like put in the conclusion itself? Wouldn't that be like circular reasoning?
No,
because if you say like contingency requires necessity, that's the thing in question before we go through like the process of the premises
then you'd have to substantiate your first premise, and then you could go through that in a different argument. But I'm just saying right now, again, for like the umpteenth time, your P1 isn't doing anything. Can you tell me what it's doing?
Giving an example of necessity.
Okay, you don't put examples in premises.
Okay.
So it's not doing anything in your argument. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Now, you can use it as a means to get somebody to agree to a premise, but right now it's not doing anything. If you're, again, this is you trying to, in an informal argument, sure, it's fine, right? But you're trying to formalize it. You gave it to me in premises. It's not an antecedent. It's not a consequent, right? It doesn't, there is no inference rule that's using the P1 there. So it's just there because you want people to say at the start that they believe in necessary things. And if they believe in necessary things, then they can go through the rest. But you don't need to use logic as necessary because, again, it doesn't follow into any of the other premises.
People are very
I see what you're saying. You're saying that like logic is not like a thing that you have to put because it's just like an example, like an arbitrary choice you can choose. You can say like God. You can say like other thing. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying get rid of the. I feel like you worked really hard on this, and you don't like the fact that I'm telling you to get rid of parts of it.
Yeah,
I think you came up with the intent of wanting me to tell you, oh, this is a beautiful, great argument. Run with it.
No. I'm actually here to actually listen to your critique. Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of premise 1 for sure.
Okay.
I'm gonna go back to listen to this. But like, would you say like my modal argument work? That the fact that we can say necessity is ontologically prior to contingency?
No,
Like,
I don't
I've worked
think.
on the.
No, I don't think this argument works. Not in the way that it's written. I think the ideas are there. I think it does follow. I think it is something that's logic and sound because I already agree with the ideas. But I think the argument and how it's written already doesn't follow and it doesn't work. I think you got to. I think you got to rewrite it out. I think you got to make sure you're following the inference rules. You got to know what your antecedent and your consequence is. You have to test it against a truth table. And once you've done all those, you'll know if the argument is a solid one.
But I'm sorry, you agree with like premise 3 downwards, right? I mean, from premise 3, you said there's no problem. You can agree it is like valid.
Well, no,
at least.
I started saying then you're probably going to have to move things around, right? So again, I agree with the premises, but I don't think I don't think it all follows from this. What I'm trying to say is I can't tell you what the antecedent consequent is in this argument.
Sure. So, but at least what I've got out is that at least you can understand the idea I'm trying to get at, even though it's badly formulated.
Yeah. Informal, it's fine. I understand where you're going, but you said you wanted help formalizing it.
Sure. Yeah. I just want what's the.
So I think you need your antecedent. You need your consequent. You need to. I keep forgetting the word. There's a certain word that's used for like things that are just evidentially true. That's used in logic. You need to. Not an axiom. No. Not. There's another word that's used.
Tautology.
Not a tautology. No. I'll look it up later on tonight. I meant to do it the other day and I forgot the word. But there's those words you have to make sure you have that in there, right? Things that just like are known, and so you have to make sure that you're going through these premises. If you have a premise like you just want people to agree, logic is necessary. Well, no, you have to go through the aspects of what's already known to agree with that. So you're going to go through, like, if you want to get to the point where logic is necessary, you got to give an argument for why logic is necessary. That's going to be your C1, your conclusion 1. Then you're going to go through the second aspect of your argument to your C2, and then you're going to show that if C1 is true and C2 is true, then C3 is true, kind of situation.
I think I could give an argument why logic is necessary, like very quickly.
Not today.
Okay, but that's fine. I'll do it later. But yeah, thank you so much for critiquing the argument. Basically, I've looked at grounding theory. Do you know grounding theory?
No, but I got to jump on, man. We've been talking 30 minutes. Yeah, sure. And I also really got to use the washroom.
Sure. All right, sure. All right, God bless, man. All right.
Abby, entertain.
Abby wants to go to sleep.
Oh, here then.
Bert's song is the best song. I haven't seen Bert today, actually. I've seen him today, but since we've been live. I don't even know where to go from there. Most handsome feline in the whole darkness. He knocks on the door. I'm trying to decide between chicken fingers and a smoked chicken for dinner. I don't know what I want to do. How did Bert get his name? Bert is named after Burt Reynolds because of his mustache. Not Bert Nerdy. People say that, and then we get smoked chicken. That also feels like the healthier choice. Chicken fingers does sound good. I'm excited for the French fries. I've never actually seen Burt Reynolds in anything. You can't hear a word that I'm saying? That's okay. I'm not really saying much.
All right, so I really want to go through this for everybody real quick. Just what I mean by what I'm talking about for those that don't understand. So like for the future. What do I mean when I say like antecedent, consequent, if it follows, right? Let's talk about very first one, a material implication. That's an if-then statement. If-then, right? That's a material implication. So modus ponens, the very like common argument that's used. It starts with a material implication. So if P, then Q, right? P is our antecedent. Q is our consequent. Shut up, I don't know how to spell. There's no space there. Okay. Yeah. So if P then Q, right? P is our antecedent, Q is our consequent. So our first premise has to contain the antecedent and the consequent in it, right? Then our second premise in a modus ponens is going to have to contain our antecedent, P, right? So P is true. And then our consequent, right? Therefore, Q. Our conclusion has to contain our consequent in it. So you have to establish that. So if P then Q, P, antecedent, Q, consequent, P is true, therefore Q, right? So if P is true, then Q is also true. There are certain other aspects to it where you can do like a conjunct, P and Q, right? For the statement to be true, both P and Q have to be true. You can also do a disjunct, P or Q, right? One of those things has to be true for the statement to be true, right? And then your consequent is always going to have to be in your conclusion. So you're going to have an antecedent and a consequent if you're going to develop like an argument or a premise. Or you understand what I'm saying? All right, let's bring up the next test. We haven't taken somebody up from TikTok for a while, so let's do it. Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
Hey, John. I'm 34.
All right, man. What do you want to ask me?
So I'm Christian. I believe in Christ. I've just been I haven't gotten into a lot of the like Old Testament, New Testament purposefully. Wasn't sure if I should start reading it or not. I just try to have a relationship with God and Christ, and just search for answers and try to have His will live through me. So do you recommend that I should read through all this stuff, or do you think?
Hold on. Is your question? I just want to be clear, man. Is your question for me as a Christian? Should you read the Bible?
I'm not sure what version to pick up first. Like,
is that your question though?
Yeah. Like, what would you recommend to start with?
Whatever one is easier for you to read.
But like maybe
it's
not the NIV.
Yeah, don't do the NIV. But even if you read the NIV, I'm not upset about it. Like, it's still pretty good. It's just got some really bad translations in there. The one you read is the best one. Depends on what you're trying to do. If it's just your personal edification, just pick up one and read. ESV would be pretty good because it's meaning for meaning translation for your personal edification. But if you want to do apologetics, that's a whole different story.
Okay. Yeah, I just had a hard time. I didn't want to wasn't sure if there's things in there that will lead me astray or not in Old Testament or New Testament.
I don't know. I don't know your heart. I don't know your heart, man. I don't know what's going to lead you astray.
Right. And then I was thinking about the Garden of Eden, and I was trying to logically break it down.
But you haven't read it.
Yeah, I have the summary, and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Dog, why are you trying to logically break down the Garden of Eden when you haven't read it?
I mean, yeah, no, you're right. I just try to think of what the story is, and I have a pretty general idea of what was happening.
I'm not going to answer your question because if you're I'm trying to logically break it down and you haven't read it, then most of your question is going to be no, that's not what it says, probably. So I'm going to say, if you want to logically break down something, you got to read it first. That's your due diligence, is just as a rational human.
That's totally fair. Mm-hmm. So you don't want me to ask the question about the garden?
Well, are you logically breaking it down, or do you have a question about it?
Yeah, I have a question about it.
What's your question?
Maybe you could help. So in the garden, when God told us not to eat from the tree of knowledge, you can correct me if I'm
tree
wrong.
Of knowledge of what?
Not to eat the apple from the tree of knowledge.
Tree of knowledge of what? See, that's what I'm saying. You got to read it, man. It doesn't say tree of knowledge of good and evil. Yeah.
Okay. See, I got it. I got it. Good and evil. So when he was telling us to not do that, why didn't he actually? He knew we were going to do it, right? When he was telling us not to do it. Mm-hmm. So why the theater with God? Why not just be upfront with us and upright about like what it is and that we are going to do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why it's kind of like, don't do this when he knows we're going to do it. And like,
That'd be a really shitty relationship. Imagine like the God of the universe, everything you talk to him, he's like, oh yeah, you're going to do that. You're just going to do like, that just seems like a bad relationship. You know, there's times, you know, your parents know you're going to do something, but they don't just look at you and say, oh yeah, you're going to do that. Also, the aspect of telling you're going to know somebody is going to do something is ultimately going to change the thing that they're going to do anyways.
right. So he set up the Garden of Eden while also placing the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the garden.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted us to do this, right?
No. Why does that follow?
Well, he put the pieces in play that he knew were going to come into play.
Yeah, why does that mean he wanted us to do it?
Yeah, that's where I'm having trouble. It's like he knew before he even created us that this was going to happen, so he kind of put it all into.
Yeah, you're just
like,
repeating what happened, but you're not telling me why that means that he wanted us to do it.
Yeah, that's where I have a hard time. It's like he put it all there to happen.
No, that's the part you're not convincing me of. You're saying he put it all there to happen. How do you, again, he put it there, right? And you're saying it's for them to do it. How do you know that that's the case?
Because he's all knowing and he's outside of time. So, like, even before he created us, he probably would have known what was going to happen, right?
Okay, so why does him knowing mean that he chose us to do it?
By creating us and putting the tree there. It seems like
you're going in a circle, my friend. You're saying he knows we're going to do it. He put the tree there, therefore he wanted us to do it.
So he didn't want us to eat from the tree genuinely?
Well, if he didn't want us to eat from the tree, he would tell us not to eat from the tree, told us not to eat from the tree, therefore he doesn't want us to eat from the tree.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he's like he does understand that it will be for our own good overall, like in the long run, or
what?
Does he just understand, like, even if, because he put the tree there, so like he's like, even if they do eat from the tree, like they still will, like, they'll still find the truth and they'll still be able to follow me after all said and done. Like,
I have no idea what you're trying to ask me, man.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to.
I just want to point this out, guys, just real quick. This shows you how disingenuous these people are. Not you, by the way. You're generous. I had somebody in the TikTok chat right now that's saying that I'm getting cooked. I just want to be clear. Do you know, person in the TikTok chat, that we're actually not debating right now? That he's asking me a question as a Christian? Anyways, man, go ahead.
So do you think, like, because I am going to start reading more and I'm going to start with Genesis and everything. And do you think, like, just our breakdown in the Bible is just not like the full, like, when he says, don't eat from the tree of knowledge, good of evil, like, is there a lot of context that isn't included in there? Should we assume that, or?
You need to go read it, man.
Okay.
Like
that's fair.
Like, you're asking me a whole bunch of questions about a book you've never read. And it's like, and as like, if you were an atheist, sure, and we were debating, we could go through it, but you're not, you're a Christian. And so, like, if you got questions about a book, you're going to read it and you're still going to have those questions. That's fine.
Yeah.
But bare minimum, you got to at least open up and read it first.
Yeah, I get a little worried because, like, I just want my relationship just to be with God, like, in my heart, you know? So I'm always asking God for, like, clarity and, like...
Clarity about what? You haven't read anything.
Well, just, like, my day-to-day stuff I'm going through, like, I just ask for God's guidance.
I'm going to tell you a joke.
Okay.
So there's this guy, right? Every morning he gets up and he frivolously prays. He gets down on his hands and knees. He puts his hands together and he says, Lord, I'm a good servant. I follow you. I read your Bible. I'm in your word. I go to church. I do mission. I do all these things, right? I give to charity, right? I love you with all my heart. Can I win the lottery? And he does this day after day after day after day. He's praying, Lord, can I win the lottery? Lord, can I win the lottery? Lord, can I win the lottery? Lord, please, can I win the lottery? I want to have this money. Lord, I will use it for good things. Lord, can I please? And he does this for years on end. And he's blameless, like he has no flaws. And eventually, after years of praying to win the lottery, and God has not granted it to him, he screams out to the heavens. He's like, Lord, I have been a faithful servant. Why won't you grant me just one thing that I asked you for? Lord, why are you doing this to me? And the heavens open up and the God screams down from the sky is, you freaking idiot, you have to buy a lottery ticket. So you're sitting here like, Lord, give me clarity, give me understanding. But yet you're not reading his word.
Yeah, you're right. I try to keep my heart open and just ask for his guidance. And I just wasn't sure if like I would dilute something by reading because like.
Oh, you probably will. I'm not telling you to take your interpretation and run with it. I'm saying have your questions, read it, and then also find like your spiritual leaders that are supposed to guide you. They're supposed to be your church leader as you walk through this process. But you're like, I want guidance and understanding of these stories in the scripture. But you're not even willing, you're not reading it. That's what I'm trying to tell you, man. You got to do that first. Right. And then once you hit these issues, when you get to the part where it says, hey, God killed a man for picking up sticks, unalive the man for picking up sticks. You're not going to have an explanation for that. And then you're going to have to go to people like myself, like Jordan, these other people who do apologetics, or go to your spiritual leader. Your spiritual leader is going to help you walk through it and understand it.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds right. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. You have a good rest of your day.
All right, man. God bless.
God bless.
That's a good joke.
I've not told you that joke?
I think you have.
Yeah, I thought I did.
It is a good joke.
Christian Ninja. Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you? Christian Ninja. I'm going to refresh just to make sure.
Well, you should do super chats if he doesn't connect.
Christian Ninja, how old are you? I could hear you for a second. Now I can't. Going once, going twice, and you're out of here. Let's do some soups. I agree with you on the idea of having a pew-pew for the intention of unaliving another human being, but that isn't the only reason to have a pew-pew is hunting bad. I'm not repeating a whole argument that we did like 4 hours in the Discord for. Guys, if you want to have guns, I'm not trying to stop you. Leave me alone. I've never brought the pew-pew argument to you guys. I've said personally I don't like them, and you guys keep bringing it up to me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, step right up and see the debate of the century. Stoppable. Oh, we did that one, yeah. Aren't you not using a false dichotomy? Either violence is good or bad, but the third option is it's neutral and depends on how it's acted upon. Was violence good during the Civil War to end slavery? Yeah, we did that one, yeah. Wasn't Jesus violent in the temple? There's actually really good argumentation for that he wasn't violent, that he never actually whipped the animals. It was whipping as in like you whip in the direction. The argument's good. I don't know if it's told to be true. But again, violence, we wouldn't say is a good thing. It could be a just thing. And justice is just bringing it back to goodness. I once got accused of being a robot. I told them that's just how I dance. Just go for Tag. I'm actually not a big fan of Tag. I'm Jay. Sorry, not sure what happened. I'll catch you later. Glad I made your day better. God bless. Thank you. Would love to see you debate and refute a dude from Christ Before Jesus. That dude is absolutely terrible. His methodology, and he's smug. Please take him on. Would love to see you cook. Guys, I'm not your one-man army. John's also invited him a million times to have a debate with him. And he's refused. So maybe after the summer, if I do a formal debate, I'll reach out to Modern Day Debate and I'll ask if he wants to do a formal on it. That might be a little bit fun, but yeah. Well, the pew-pews don't like you either. Fine. That's fine. Christian Ninja, hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
I'm 56. Thank you.
Let me bring you in, man. You're already in. What did you want to ask me?
I wanted to ask about I try to run into atheists on X and Muslims and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the atheist's biggest hang up for me is, why did God create Satan if Satan was going to rebel?
Yeah, there's a lot of different type of answers to that. It could be the case that if it wasn't Satan, it would have been somebody else, right? That
Yeah.
eventually you're going to get to somebody who's going to rebel anyways. And it's not just Satan that rebelled. There was a whole list of the divine council that rebelled against God, and that fell.
Yeah, third.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's not just Satan that rebels. A whole bunch of people. Humanity has rebelled. And Satan, by the colloquial definition, just means the evil one, right? So
Right.
we give a lot of power to Satan. Satan doesn't have as much power as you think. And when we're looking like things like the Gospels, we see that like we had legion, we had unclean spirits in there. These guys weren't Satan themselves; they were their own rebelling entities.
Okay. Thank you. That helps.
No problem. Was there anything else, bro?
Well, I was the one that asked a while back, a couple weeks ago, about fasting. And I was kind of looking for pointers and like if I could build up on it. Like if I only have one meal a day.
Well, yeah, fasting is it's a personal practice, right? It's a good practice, and it's what brings you. But it's the goal of fasting is supposed to be a reminder to unify yourself in the trust of the Lord. So you abstain from earthly pleasures, and you rely only on the pleasure of the Lord. So like give up a meal and fast for an hour. That's fine. Fast for a day. Fast however long you need to think you need to fast. You can do like the Orthodox do, and you can do the fast where they give up on the idea with like the Orthodox perspective is giving up on like luxurious items. So you can eat your meals throughout the day, but you don't eat like meat or butters or oils. You don't have the good food. You just eat what's enough to sustain you and keep you alive. So there are different types of way to fast, but ultimately the goal of fasting is just to remove the earthly pleasures to rely on the pleasure of the Lord.
Okay. That's right. Because for Lent, I had not fast. I had not eaten supper for the whole 40 days. And then I wanted to expand it and get better at it.
Yeah, that's
so. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's no problem, man. All right, God bless.
God bless.
Nice guy. I liked him. John, how do you feel about Christians that affirm gay relationships, and how good are their arguments? Better than you're going to think that I think they are. I don't think it's where the conclusion leads. I don't think it follows. The problem with the argument is that you have to guess. The problem with their argument is you have to guess what people would think of X situation. So we're looking historically, the things that are written down about homosexual relationships all fall into the category of power dynamics, not about like who loves who or who wants to be with who. It's not really an idea that's in the ancient world. We don't see it too often. It does come up, but not very often. And so when we take this ancient concept of like the power dynamics and we say, hey, we remove the power dynamics and we live in today's world. And now we have if we like the argument I heard is like, if we took Paul, put him today, and you see like a man and a man that just love each other and it's not a power dynamic, would Paul oppose this? And he says that this person who brought up this argument says that he would think not. So it's not as bad of an argument as one would think, but I think you have to do a lot of guessing on what people would say. And I think if you're going to take the principle of caution, you look at what the early church says, you look at what the scripture says, and then you just, you take the principle of caution and say, this is the standard. Jesus gives the standard, said in the beginning, he made the man and woman, and what God has brought apart, or what God has brought together, let no man drive apart. That is the ultimate standard. We also can see that in a power dynamic, it says that women gave up their desires for other women, but people argue that's not Paul who wrote that specific one. So women gave up their desires for other women. And that is not a power dynamic, because in the ancient culture, women wouldn't have the power over women, right? So it's the Malakoi and, the Malakoi and I forget what the other word is, Arsenokoite and Malakoi, the soft and the power. So they would argue that the Paul would have been okay with it, but the other letters are not actually from Paul, and they would just reject those. And you'll notice that people who have different theologies always has a piece of scripture that they reject. That's usually the case. Good question. Colin, hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you? Let me refresh to see.
Well, we had a call in the other day.
Mm-hmm. Colin?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you. How old are you?
I am 28.
All right, bro. What do you want to ask me?
Okay, I think I have a pretty. I've been trying to convince you for evolution for a while. I know you're agnostic on it, but I think I have a pretty good argument. Hopefully.
Okay.
So what I was thinking about when we talked is you said you believe in adaptation, right?
Yeah, to a certain extent, sure.
Okay, and then do you believe things can adapt over time?
To what end? I don't know.
Okay, and then do you think that adaptations are inheritable?
I have no idea, to be honest, actually.
Okay. So there are a couple cool studies we could look at if you want, like the E. coli experiment where they showed bacteria in a lab slowly becoming resistant to antibiotics and similar things.
Okay.
So there's a lot of proof that adaptations are inheritable.
Okay. Let me just grant it. Now what?
Okay. And then if adaptations are inheritable, that is evolution. So that means you believe in evolution. Because all evolution is really saying is small changes in a population over time.
Great. Show me I used to be a fish. That I was a fish and I just adapted into being what I am now.
I don't know how that directly ties into what I'm talking about right now.
That's what I'm talking about when we talk about evolution is the speciation, the change of species.
Well, okay, so I mean, I could bring up the fossil that when we have a fossil they've discovered that ties into that, but I don't think that ties into what my argument was. My argument is simply if adaptation exists in your worldview, and then you think species can adapt over time. I understand the argument of at what scale, right? But it doesn't change the general idea that
but you know what, you know the spirit of the debate, right? The spirit of the debate is speciation. If you just want me to say that evolution is true because my dad was more hairy and therefore I'm more hairy, like is that what you want a technical win based off that? I'll give it to you.
Well, it's more. Well, it's not. I'm not going for a technical. I'm hoping to explain it in a way where I'm resonating with your existing beliefs. So it's not just that like if your dad was more hairy.
Well, what you say that what you're trying to do is the Socratic method, which assumes that your conclusion is true and you're trying to teach me of it. But the thing is, I'm interested in being convinced through like the argumentation, right? Give me the conclusion.
Okay.
Like, how do you come to the conclusion?
So, I think a good example would be, looking at scales of time. So we agree adaptation happens, and then we can see adaptations inherited over time. It's just the idea that so that that's evolution to begin with, and then evolution. So evolution is separate from the whole speciation thing. Just we could start there maybe.
Yeah, again, if you want to say evolution, like if you want me to say that evolution is humanity remaining humanity the whole time, but sometimes we get taller and smaller, and sometimes we get hairier and less hairier. And as far as I've done from my research of this evolution too, is those adaptations that happen throughout time can go either direction, right? And it can change. It can also change back. So you can have this like E. coli that gets that changes to gets to more defensive towards specific things, but it could also go back the other way because what happens is the chromosome opens and closes, and as the chromosomes open and close, the new information comes in and changes the information. So if it goes there's nothing stopping that from going the other direction.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where just survival of the fittest kind of comes into play, where you're exactly right. I really want to highlight that adaptations are, I'd argue, more random, but over time, the ones that have a higher survivability propagate.
Yeah, but there's nothing stop. Like if we stop being susceptible, like this is a thing in evolution as well that they claim that there's ancient viruses that are in the ice caps. The ice caps melt; those ancient viruses are going to come out, and they're going to be deadly to us because we no longer possess the defense mechanisms for that.
Yeah, yeah. I think maybe something that would resonate is in Africa. So many people had AIDS. It's terrible, but there was an adaptation against it, and that's now propagating because of how many people have died to
Okay.
that disease, which is horrible. But
So what you're telling me is there's a speciation. There's a species. In those species, the genus can adapt to the environment that they're in for either survivability, or if there is no threat, they will lose that aspect. So there's change within that, but there's no reason that I should believe that this change leads from a fish to us.
That then ties into DNA and the fossil record. But once again, when we're talking about that's separate from
everybody
just the
also
general
says
idea.
fossil record. What freaking fossil record? I've asked everybody to show me this fossil record. Show it to me.
Yeah, I think that. Okay, I mean, do we want to look something up really fast? That'd be fun.
Well, you should have it, right? You brought it up to convince me. So what is it?
Here, give me 1 sec because I have to leave the page and then that mutes me. But I'm gonna look up the exact name and I'll bring that to you.
Jim Bob, I see you in the chat. If you wanted to come up and argue evolution, you're more than welcome.
This is taking longer than I'd want. I think the easiest example of fossils are Neanderthal fossils in terms of speciation, because they're so recent. I'm having trouble looking up something in the short amount of time because I didn't have it pre-saved. But I know it starts with an A for the one that's the fish that grew legs. I mean, for example, we see different species all over the planet that have adapted to their environment. Would you agree with that?
Well, I have no clue. It just seems intuitively true that, if my parents carry certain traits, I'm going to carry certain traits. And if that's what you mean by adaptation, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, exactly. And all I'm saying is evolution is just over time. And we're talking about grand scales of time too. When you're going from a fish to a human, you're talking about hundreds of millions of
adaptation
years.
over time. But again, what reason do I have to believe I used to be a different species? Because it can be the case. Hold on, it can be the case that humanity has existed since the beginning, and then within that humanity existing, they have adapted for and against certain things, and they've evolved to, for example, at a certain time point, resist certain viruses, and then as those viruses vanishes, they lose those adaptations. Right? That's like saying me lifting weights and my muscles grow, and then I stop lifting weights and my muscle gets smaller as me evolving.
Well, to clarify, there's a big difference between having like blue eyes or brown hair and then the muscle weight. You don't control your eye color the same way you control how your muscles grow. So it's more like saying, I don't know if the blue eye and brown hair was a great example, but a vaccine is using your immune system, which is something that evolved over time, and that's really interesting.
But is not a vaccine me controlling my ability to build up an immunity to something?
Yeah, but I don't understand how that ties into adaptation, because that's not an adaptation.
I'm not adapting to be resistant to the virus?
Well, and that's kind of like using double speak with the word. When I'm talking about adaptation, I'm talking about changes in genes or your DNA. So we have memetics, which is the idea of evolving ideas. So ideas evolve over time, the same way you evolve over time. But those are two separate things. So like you can have brown hair and dye your hair a certain color, but that doesn't mean you.
Dyeing doesn't change my hair color. My hair color has a certain property, right? I'm covering the hair color. If I introduce a vaccine, my system is actually adapting to resist the vaccine. So how is that not adaptation?
So when
is my body not adapting?
Not in the same. You're not. I guess you are changing your DNA to a certain extent, but that's through existing mechanisms. So it's not the same. So once again,
hold on. How do we adapt with non-existing mechanisms? Like, how do we introduce an existing or something new into our system without using an existing mechanism that's already there?
So I think to begin with, it just started once again more with randomness. So I mean, it could have been something as simple as radiation affecting your genes, and once again,
But that's relying on my
not,
genes. That's something that's there.
So I think where I'm having trouble is the scale of time here. So we.
Bro fell out of his tunnel. I'll give him a sec. He's a nice guy, so we'll give him a sec to connect. You know what just happened, guys? He de-evolved. He didn't lose connection. Evolution happened, but it went the other way, and then this is just now how he speaks.
So
oh, there we go. We got you back. Right.
No, it's my girlfriend's trying to help by you can just talk.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
She just showed up and she started trying to show me ChatGPT stuff, which wasn't as helpful, to be honest.
Sorry, I just came here.
But it's the so yeah, I mean, I think adaptation, if we're looking at it as more a general term, like you can adapt in the sense that your muscles get bigger. You take a vaccine, but it doesn't.
Did you know?
Did you know
that? Hold on. Did you know if like a mother works out and she's consistently healthy, that will actually cause her offspring to be healthier and more susceptible and more likely to be like put on muscle and have a stronger heart.
But is that inheritable?
Well,
like would then their kids have that?
If it's not inheritable, how is it the case that the mother works out causes the child to be healthier? That seems like an inheritance, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I feel as though that points more towards
like Abby, you did
survivability once again.
Did you not? Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so
What?
so
Sorry?
again, adaptation, sure, fine, yeah, we adapt and sometimes we carry some of the traits from our parents, and again, it can go either way because again, if you have the vice versa aspect, right? If my wife has a child and she works out and is healthy all the time, she's going to have a more healthy child, more susceptible to like again stronger muscles. Oh, hold on.
Better metabolism.
Better metabolism.
Money.
Thank you, sir. That was very generous. So it's going to be more susceptible to that. But then that child decides to go a different route and starts eating McDonald's, never working out, and gets less healthy. And then they have a child. That child's going to be more susceptible to being less healthy. So again, it can go either way. Sure, we can grant this adaptation, but I don't know how we get to this aspect of like, yeah, we used to be fish.
Okay, so I mean, in the example you just gave, because once again, the scale of time is the problem. If you have a higher susceptibility to different diseases and things, you'll have a lower survivability, meaning that over time, the people that work out more or take better care of their health will survive more, meaning that the population will slowly lean that way.
That can't be true because most of society is obese and not healthy now. If what you're saying, no, that is true. That's 100% true.
No. I know. I'm not disagreeing, but that's more a symptom of environment and like how bad wealth inequality is.
You just stated that the more prominent gene is what's going to be carried on and what's going to move forward. And the examples we were using is the healthy aspects, but that's not the case. The more dominant gene that's winning right now is unhealthiness.
I wouldn't say it's so. What I would say is that's not winning. It's just it's more common. But
is that not what evolution? Did you not? Is that not your argument for evolution? Is that the gene that's get carried on is the dominant, more winning gene, survival of the fittest, and therefore it's more common, and that's what evolution is.
But a big part of that is once again starting with adaptation, and most adaptations are negative, unfortunately. And I guess we live in a world where a lot of these people are kept alive through systems and other things, where it's kind of like the whole movie Idiocracy. But that's going. I guess if I want to talk about the fish thing, it would be rational to say that a fish would have a higher survivability if, for example, it was able to spend some time out of water Like we have flying fish, right? That when they're getting chased in the ocean, they're able to leap out of the water and glide for miles at a time, which is
But
very impressive.
that's a consequentialist argument. You're saying, oh yeah, the consequent of being able to get out of water means you can survive longer. Therefore, they evolved.
Okay, maybe a better example is we've studied cave swallows for a long time. I thought that was that's an interesting thing because I worked for the parks. I saw that firsthand where they were studying the wing length of cave swallows. And because they used to live in caves and fly longer distances, they needed those longer wings. And it was a trade-off between speed and agility and then efficiency. But because humans destroyed so much of their habitat, they started nesting under roadway bridges where there were a lot of bugs and insects and things, especially getting hit by cars. But the catch then was that a lot of them were getting hit by cars. So we saw this rapid evolution. They called it rapid evolution, but I think it's just, I don't understand why you'd say rapid evolution versus evolution. It's the same mechanism. But what we saw was their wing length get much shorter, much faster, because the birds with shorter wings survived and the ones with longer wings weren't able to dodge the cars fast enough. So you ended up seeing their agility and speed increase.
And how did we see that?
Through their size getting much smaller.
Yeah, but I mean,
quickly.
what is the mechanism in which we measured this?
How did we measure their wing length?
So what you're saying is that we saw a bird in one area had longer wings, bird in other area had shorter wings, therefore evolution?
Well, no, it's we saw the specific species. So it's not like one bird in one area.
Specific
one
species
bird
of bird, yeah.
Yeah, we saw that across the board, the longer wing length just kind of disappeared, and the shorter wing length is what now exists.
How? How did
That's
we see
not to
that?
say that if the cave habitat and stuff wasn't to come back, their wing length couldn't.
Well, but I understand. I understand what you're saying. I'm asking the how.
How did we
see that? How did we come to this conclusion?
Well, we just observed the species and tested it. So it was a matter of like, just taking.
How did we do it?
You just take a ruler up to the wings. I mean, I don't know what you mean by that.
Okay, so they went to a cave, they found the bird, they measured its wings in situation A, and then situation B, they found the same bird somewhere else, measured its wings, found that the birds in situation B were shorter, therefore evolution?
No, so we measured their wings in like the 1800s and 1900s, and then we measure their wings in the 2000s, right? We're talking about scales of time here, and it's the kind of thing where across the board, their wing length has gotten much shorter.
Okay, so somebody in a book. Okay, so we're going to trust somebody's testimony from the past that they measured these birds' wings, and then we get to today and we measured them again, and they're shorter, and then we conclude that we came from fish.
Well, once again, I don't understand why you keep jumping to we conclude we came from. I mean,
that's what we're talking about when we talk about evolution. This is the part that most Christians, again, I'm agnostic, but most Christians are denying the speciation, the change of the genus.
Yeah. So once again, going on that large of a scale is, I think, hard for anyone because you're talking about evolution or adaptations over like hundreds of millions of years. But if we pick like Neanderthals,
here's the thing.
Easier.
Here's the thing about the bird thing, right? If I go to China, they're generally going to be shorter than me, but that doesn't mean they're not human, or that they used to be something completely different. We're in the same species. Okay, so we have these two birds, different locations. They got different wing spread. I don't know how that gets us to the point where, okay, yeah, again, we used to be fish.
So, when the Earth first formed, because we're talking about such large scales, I think we need to start all the way at the beginning. It was a volcanic mass, right? And we can prove that through geology.
How can we prove it through geology?
Do you know how carbon dating works?
Do you?
Yeah.
How does it work?
So at the beginning of the universe, because of the Big Bang, there was a certain amount of radiation released in that moment.
How do you know that?
So how do we know there was a certain amount of radiation? Because there's cosmic radiation across the board. I mean, and the Big Bang as well. So how do we know the Big Bang happened?
Well, you're relying on a whole bunch of presuppositions, things that you're just hoping that we take for granted to come to the conclusions that you draw. So at the beginning of the universe, the world was banged, and there's this whole bunch of radiation. What did you say it was?
Yeah, and all the planets and universes and stuff are expanding from the central point. That central point has radiation emitting outwards. But what's really interesting is that radiation has.
But how do you know that?
How do we know that the universe is expanding?
No, how did you figure out that at the very beginning of the bang, it started with this radiation?
The bang created like a nuclear bomb going off.
Yeah. How do you know it?
How do we know there's radiation?
Yeah.
Because we can observe it and test it.
You can observe the Big Bang, the beginning of the universe?
No, the radiation. And we can observe the Big Bang happened because the same way if you saw a meteor crater, you'd be able to, you're working backwards with the information you have using the logical steps. So once again, the universe is expanding from a central point.
Yeah, but again, I could grant that that's the best conclusion given the data, that if we take the red line shift and we move backwards, everything starts to get smaller, and then it goes back down to an infinitesimally small point going to the beginning of the universe. How do you conclude that was radiation there?
There's radiation throughout the whole universe, and it's a kind of a steady background kind of hum.
Okay, there's planets across the whole universe, so therefore there's planets there.
What do you mean by there's planets there? Like where?
Well, I'm just using your argument. There's radiation across the whole universe, so therefore there's radiation at the Big Bang. Okay, well, there's planets across the whole universe, therefore there's planets at the Big Bang.
So no. What happened with the Big Bang was you started with very primitive elements, and then what's really interesting is over time.
But you keep telling me we have these things. Like, how do you know you come to these conclusions of these things? I'm trying to ask you for a methodology, and you just keep giving me conclusions.
Well, I'm trying to explain because it's hard for me to defend all of science as someone that's just studied it, and then it's like asking me why 2 + 2 = 4. I can explain the basics of you have 2 apples plus 2 apples, but then if you're saying, well, no, why do you have an apple to begin with?
That's not comparable because mathematics rests on axioms.
But that's what I'm trying to explain. So
you're saying that the universe had radiation is axiomatically true?
You can prove that all of the universe has radiation, yes.
That's not the question I asked you. Is it axiomatically true?
Can you define that word?
Axiomatically means that it's self-evidently true and doesn't require evidence.
There's what applies to that? What doesn't need evidence to exist?
Mathematics.
Mathematics still needs evidence.
Give me the evidence for math. Go ahead.
What?
Give me the evidence for math. What is the evidence that proves math?
Using the 2 + 2 = 4 example.
You're using math to prove math there. That's circularity.
Okay. If I have this is hard because we're arguing definitions.
We're not arguing definitions.
In a more philosophical way. When I'm trying to stick to, maybe we could define what truth is first.
A truth claim is something that is in the positive state, not the negative state. It is something, and it's not a negation.
Okay, and I would also argue it's something that can be easily proved or changed, right?
It can be what? You're cutting out. You're cutting out again.
Able to be changed.
Still didn't hear you. You're cutting out. You got to get closer to your Wi-Fi.
Yeah, probably. So a truth claim is something that needs to be able to be changed. I'm not saying
a truth claim is something that can be changed.
Yeah, and
okay, so then 2 + 2 = 4 is not true.
Well, no, I'm saying it's true, but you would need to be open to it being able to be changed.
Okay. Hold on. I just want to just be on the record right now. You want to say that it's possible that 2 + 2 can = 5?
No, not at all. I'm just saying that you need to be.
You just said I have to be open to the fact that it could be changed, which means it's possible.
Yeah, any truth claim.
If it can be not true, it's not true.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
There's a lot of red herrings here.
No, a red herring is an argument adjacent, something that is separate. He stated that there are no such things as axioms, that everything requires evidence. And then we went into mathematics to see that if that claim was true. And now he's stating that their math claims aren't true.
Well, no, I'm saying math claims are true, but they're backed by evidence. And if that evidence
Great.
was
What's
to
the
change,
evidence that 2 plus 2
claim would
equals
have
4?
to change. 2 plus 2 equals 4 is very basic. So it's the idea that if you look, like you have one apple and
What is
another apple,
one? What
and you
is
combine
one?
them. One is just a representation of something.
Of what?
In the real world. So when you say one, you're referring to a single item.
No, can you tell me what one is without using the word one?
A single item.
That's a tautology. Singular, single, and one mean the exact same thing.
How would you define one?
You can't. That's the problem. That's axiomatically true. It exists absent the evidence.
I think we're disagreeing on basic definitions.
No, we're not. You're just wrong about this. This is a basic like logic 101, mathematics 101 is axioms.
Okay. Maybe we could just use logic in that case. We'll use critical thinking.
Can you give me the evidence of logic?
P1, P2, P3 kind of argument.
Yeah, can you give me the evidence that logic is true without using logic?
How about we go back to adaptation and evolution? Because I feel like you're purposely kind of like derailing from.
I'm not derailing. I can bring it all back, right? The whole reason that we're in this conversation is because that you said we had radioactivity at the beginning of the universe, and I asked you how you know that to be true, and you just said we know it, and then I went into, well, is it axiomatically true? And then we had to get into the definitions of axioms, and then you stated all axioms have to have evidence. So even if we hold to your definition of all axioms have to have evidence, then you have to provide me the evidence that you know there's radiation at the beginning of the universe.
Well, like I was explaining, it comes from the Big Bang, but you're debating if the Big Bang happened.
I'm not debating whether or not the Big Bang happened. I'm debating how you know there's radiation there.
Because when you have a large I wouldn't say explosion, but expansion like that, radiation is just a wave. So it's like saying, how do you know light exists, or how do you know sound waves exist? It's hard to then argue why sound waves exist, if that makes sense. I can try to do my best.
I'm not asking you to tell me how you know it exists. I'm asking how you know it was there.
Okay, I mean, you could measure it. So that's where the scientific method comes in.
How did you do it? You keep telling we could. How? Show me.
Okay, so we were talking about carbon dating, right? There's a certain amount of deterioration.
Okay, carbon dating.
How am I going to? I'm trying
let's
through carbon dating.
Okay.
So you're looking at carbon. I think it's 4 or something. It doesn't really. You're looking at the carbon in a structure and how it degrades over time.
Okay. How do we look at the carbon?
How do you measure the amount of carbon in something?
Yeah. How do you measure the carbon? You're telling me I want a methodology. You keep giving me conclusions, right? What is the methodology in which we look at carbon?
I assume it would be through spectrometry, where you shine light and you look at how it reflects and the light waves that reflect.
So you don't know.
I understand. I mean, you're asking. You keep taking what I'm saying and then asking for
methodologies. Yes, 100%, 110%. I am asking the methodology on how people concluded that evolution is true.
Then spectrometry, I'm quite confident would be a way they would be able to do it. I'm sure they have other ways too, where they can use chemical testing, by using other chemicals to break down things except for the carbon, and then they can look at the amount of carbon in
like you don't know
when we measure.
You're just making a best guess.
Once again, I'm quite confident at spectrometry.
And
the same way we would measure how much gold is in an item.
And what is that? Spectrometry.
It's when you shine light into an object and you look at the wavelengths that are returned.
So I shine a light through what? What am I shining a light through here?
Well, it's the reflection, but it's kind of the same way radar works, if that makes sense. In that,
what am I shining a light through?
I think a rock would be an easy example.
Okay, so I pick up a
You
rock.
shine a laser on a rock and you look at what it reflects and what it
I
doesn't.
shine a light through a rock, and then what am I looking for?
You're looking at the returned wavelengths.
What does that mean?
So
1 second.
the reason we see color, for example, is because
One second.
we
You were saying to use the radiation of the Big Bang to prove carbon dating, and now you want to use carbon dating to prove the Big Bang had radiation. Caller, that is circular.
True, but I'm going to let you go with it anyways. Okay, so I have a rock. I'm shining this light through it, and now what am I looking for?
You're looking to see what the rock is made up of.
And how is the light giving me that information?
The same way our eyes take in color, right? So you have white light that hits something, and then we can see the color from that because it's absorbing all the other wavelengths.
So
right?
I'm looking at the rock and I'm seeing the color red, blue. What am I looking for as the person? You're giving me an analogy on how the system works. I'm asking you what I'm looking for.
So a human eye wouldn't be able to. You have to use.
Great. So there's a machine that looks for it. What am I looking for?
Yeah. You're looking at once again the wavelengths that are returned, and then it tells you what's in the rock because whatever wavelengths it absorbs gives you an idea.
Am I
of what's
looking
in
for to tell me what's in the rock?
What are you looking for? I'm confused. I'll explain it one more time. So it's the kind of thing where you have a light that the same way your eye works, right? Just on a much smaller scale. You're zoomed in, you're magnified. You shine a light or a laser.
Mm-hmm.
It returns wavelengths, but it absorbs some of those wavelengths. Whatever it absorbs tells you what would be in it, because not all materials act the same.
How does the wavelengths tell me what's in it?
Because of what's absorbed and what isn't.
Okay, so what absorbs what wavelengths and what doesn't? Like what exactly am I looking for, bro? You just keep. It's so vague. It could be anything. Right now, I could shine a piece of light through a piece of paper and be like, "Am I doing it?" Like I have no clue what you're talking about here.
Well,
like I don't think you know.
No, I mean I do. I'm trying to explain. So you need the spectrometry equipment, right? Once again, it's like a magnifying glass or a I'm trying to remember a microscope. It's not something you can see with the human eye.
All right, guys, you should believe in evolution because if you shine a light through a rock, some of the rock picks up wavelengths and some of it doesn't.
Exactly. And then what you can do is you can look at how much carbon and then the types of carbon. So you're looking at the radioactive elements, and then you're using those isotopes.
Did you say exactly? I was. What happened? Oh, I forgot to turn my freaking cooler on my camera. I'm still here, guys. I'm still here. Hold on. My cooler, I forgot to turn my cooler on my camera and then it overheated. Okay. Right. I was mocking you when I said that and you said exactly.
Okay. I mean, I feel like you're mocking yourself because you're not understanding how light works.
I don't think you understand it. You're not explaining to me. You literally said we shine a light through a rock and the way that the wavelength travels through the rock tells us something.
Maybe a better example would be like the rock uranium, right? So it's shooting off these radioactive particles, right? Like it's extremely radioactive, right?
Dog, I need you to tell me how shining a light through a rock tells us anything.
So mass spectrometry, once again, you're looking at what wavelengths are returned or what wavelengths are not returned.
Okay. Math is just taking numbers and putting them together to make them say other numbers. So now I want you to do multiplication for me just based off that information.
Okay. I'm confused.
Carbon isotopes. Spectroscopy can see carbon, not specific isotopes. The isotopes are from sun hitting air, not the Big Bang. Caller, I'm sorry, you don't know the first thing about these topics.
I have a light here. Hold on. I'm shining this light through this piece of paper. How old is the piece of paper?
Once again, you'd need the proper equipment to do that. I mean,
What
do
is
you
the
want to
proper
Google
equipment going to
spectrometry
tell
so I'm
me?
not? Do you want to Google spectrometry so you're not relying
No, it's
solely
your
on mine?
argument.
Okay, so do you not believe spectrometry can tell you what's in an item? And then what's interesting is that guy that sent the message and he's saying it's from light, which I think highlights.
You don't get to do that. You don't get to go, hey, I can't explain my thing, but there, and I ask you to explain it, and you go, I can't explain it, but therefore you don't think that's what it does. Like, I'm not saying anything. I'm not making a claim.
I did explain it. You're just not happy with.
No, you're not explaining it. How? Again, how does the light shine through a rock? Tell us how old the rock is.
It's so it's not going through. Maybe that's where the confusion is. It's being reflected.
How does the light reflecting off a rock tell us how old it is?
So do you understand how radar works? Like a cop's radar gun?
Oh my God, bro. How does a light shining on a rock tell us how old it is?
By looking at what the rock is made up of, once again.
How does the light shining on the rock tell us what it's made up of?
Okay, so there's different types of carbon. So looking at the different types of carbon and how decayed they are. So the same way when something dies and it slowly decays, you can measure that decay, right? It's just that.
How can you measure the decay?
I just explained spectrometry.
No, you didn't.
I mean, we're going.
You did not explain it.
Circles.
You just said you shine the light on the rock and it tells you that how old it is. I'm asking you, how does it tell you how old it is?
I'm saying it.
And you just say because the carbon dating is older. Again, you shine light on rock. Light comes off rock. Tell information. What information it tell me? Tell how old rock is.
Yeah. So you shine a light. It reflects. It gives you what carbon atoms are in it.
How does it give me the carbon atoms?
I get that you're frustrated, but can we maintain composure with this
Don't tell me
debate? How
to behave on my live. How does it give me the carbon atoms? You weren't asking. You told me.
I said, can we do that?
Hold on. I love you, but maybe you could join the debate if you want. But
Okay, I'll stop. Sorry.
With the so once again, you're looking at the wavelengths that are returned that aren't, and the ones that aren't tell you what is in the rock.
How does it tell me?
Because certain items absorb different wavelengths.
Okay, so I shine light on the rock. Which items absorb which wavelengths?
So, which items absorb which wavelengths?
Yes.
I mean, I'm not a spectrometry expert. I mean, that's like, so different wavelengths. I mean, I actually would like to look into the physics of this. I assume it's the vibration of the particles and then how it absorbs that energy. But I don't fully understand how color works even. I mean, how do you look at an item and you know that the wavelengths, like how do you know certain wavelengths are absorbed and certain wavelengths aren't? It's the same principles, just on a smaller scale.
So you don't know?
Yeah, I wouldn't know that.
Okay.
But that doesn't.
So then why should I think,
know that.
why should I believe in carbon dating?
Because we can, you should believe that we can measure the amount of carbon in an item.
How can you?
Do you not believe we can measure the amount of carbon in an item?
I'm not making a claim. You said I should and ought believe these things. Why?
Because not everything, but most things are made up of, I mean, I don't know how to explain to you why you should believe in the wavelengths of light. Like I'm
not asking you to tell me to believe things like you take a light, you shine it on a rock. Certain elements in the rock absorb certain wavelengths. Therefore, evolution. Like what? Or therefore carbon dating. Like how does that even tell me how old the rock is? Even if it was the case that metal absorbed this wavelength and carbon absorbed this wavelength, and then we measure back, we could say, well, there's carbon in here, there's metal in here, there's iron here. We can even get those conclusions. How would that even get us to the point where we could date it?
Because it's deteriorating. Because
how do you know
has a certain amount of radiation. So everything has a certain amount of radiation in it, right? So that radiation, I think it's carbon 4 to carbon 3 or something, but the carbon itself, and that's why we use carbon dating, the carbon changes. So by looking at how much of one type of carbon it has versus another, it gives you an idea of the age.
And how do we do that?
We look at the different types of carbon through spectrometry, so we can tell what's what.
So we look through a rock with a light. We can see that this is carbon A, and we look at a rock through another light, and we see this is carbon B. And how do we get to the conclusion how old it is?
Because we're looking at the deterioration. So I think a good example is if a rock is newly formed, it has a lot more of that.
Newly formed rock?
Yeah.
How new?
I mean, we could make it as new as possible. Like it just launched out of a volcano and landed, kind of a vibe.
That's not a newly formed rock. It existed in the volcano.
Well, it's been reformed. So, I mean,
Are you
I
talking
guess
about
that
like when
depends on the
lava
definition
hits?
of a rock.
Are you talking about when lava hits water?
I mean, that would form a rock. You could also have sediment, where like you have sand that's slowly compacted over time. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to get a rock.
Okay, so if it's sand that compacted over time, wouldn't the carbon all be the same dating? Because it all goes back to the original carbon?
Well, so yeah, I mean, the sand one might have been I think that's a good example, though. You'd see a big difference in the carbon in sandstone versus a more volcanic rock.
So you just said all the carbon goes back to the beginning.
But we're talking about different types of carbon. The amount of I don't think it's just isotope. In like the amount of electrons in its the valence circle or whatever.
Well, I don't think you know.
I'm having trouble. I mean, I'm going back to like middle school science.
I think you're going off a lot of just like this is what they told me, therefore it's true, and you don't actually know the methodologies in which they use to come to the conclusions that they come to.
I mean, my dad would be furious because he's a geologist. So
great, bring him on.
I think that would be really fun. I'd have to. I don't know how I'd merge the call or something through Discord through this, but I'll have him on one time. I actually think that'd be really fun.
Okay.
Because he's actually a scientist. He's going to be able to explain the science much better than I will as someone that's been more of a bystander to it.
Sure, but I'm just saying there's a lot of things that you just pre-concluded that you just assume to be true. You don't really know.
Well, I mean, we understand how spectrometry works. We understand the premise to the big. I still think there's a lot of
You
most of humanity.
Spectroscopy can see isotopes. But, carbon isotope being looked for doesn't come from the Big Bang, but from sunlight hitting nitrogen in the atmosphere. Can't be used on rock, only what takes in carbon from air.
So chat, if most of humanity knows how spectrometers work, can you guys explain to me, every one of you in the chat, write out a quick paragraph exactly how it works, please and thank you.
Okay. And then I actually think that would help, having other people help me here. But once again, the guy that keeps sending the message, it comes from solar radiation. I mean, there is a certain amount of radiation that comes from solar radiation, but it wouldn't explain why when you cut into the middle of a rock, you still see that dating. So I don't understand the point they're trying to make.
What?
Well, I keep hearing that like ding, and then someone saying the reason we see this decay is from solar radiation, which just doesn't make sense. I mean, the sun does radiate radiation, like many, like the early universe did, because it was mainly stars, not planets. But that doesn't.
How do you know?
That's not the same. How do we know? We can look back to a certain extent. I mean,
when we look back, we actually found bigger galaxies when we were supposed to find smaller ones. That went against the scientific method, and they still haven't figured out why with the James Hubble telescope.
Well, it's not against the scientific method is what did, but it did go against
Everybody in
probably
science collectively
standing-
got together and said, we don't know why this is the case. We have to go back to the drawing board. Neil deGrasse Tyson did a big thing on it.
Yeah, no, I mean that's cool, but that doesn't. So what is your point? I'm confused by your point there.
You said we can know it was primarily just planets because we can look back and see. Well, no, because when we look back, we actually see bigger galaxies. Or sorry, stars. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'd argue that you could make the conclusion that with bigger stars, you'd have bigger galaxies. I mean, I don't know the conclusions they came to from that, but a big thing with science is, like I said, your truth claims need to be, if new evidence comes up, you need to be able to change the truth.
I agree, but I'm just saying, how do you know it was primarily just stars?
That's really, so we keep changing. I mean, I was hoping to just stick to the
this
evolution.
is why I'm agnostic towards evolution, is because there's so many mechanisms and methodologies that I have to just take for granted to come to the conclusion, and I think that's irresponsible. Especially from the epistemic standard that people demand as Christians, right? For the epistemic standard that people demand as Christians, we have to have every single answer and explanation for what is written in Scripture and for the understanding of God and the evidence for this. And so people, atheists, not you particularly, but atheists has put this unbearable burden upon us that you must have all these answers. And I say, fine, but you guys also got to do it too. So there's all these mechanisms and methodologies that you're just asking me to grant and assume to be true to come to the conclusions that you're coming to because some guy off somewhere said it was true. I want the methodology.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I like that you are naturally skeptic. I think that's good. One of the things that pops in my head, and this, I'm not trying to take us off on a tangent here myself, but what evidence do you have for the Bible being true?
Yeah, the historic reportage model.
Could you explain that to me? Because I'm not good at those kind of things. I'm kind of an atheist to all religions, obviously.
Radioisotope dating methodology relies on a lot of critical assumptions. The three biggest ones are thus: the amount or ratio of isotopes in a sample when it was formed, decay rates remaining constant, no non-sample contamination.
So the historical method starts on the first principle is the justified true belief, the standard in which we've implemented to say that somebody is justified, they say that something is true. For somebody to say that something is true, you first must have knowledge of it. If you don't know of it, you can't say it's true. I can't say, flop exists if I don't even know what a flop is, right? I also have to believe it's true. I can't say something is true if I believe it's the opposite. So those are the two starting principles. And after that, you need some sort of empirical data that points towards the belief and the knowledge aspects being true. So this would be what we call a justification. That's a justified true belief. And for anybody to say that, yes, this thing is true or I'm justified to believe it, you need to meet those three criterions. So when I'm looking at history and I'm looking at the standard, I see what we look at in history to apply that something is either likely to be true or unlikely to be true. So in history, we can't say anything is certain. We go on likelihoods, right? We have principles that we apply. For example, the principle of charity. You don't assume somebody's being dishonest until you have evidence that they are being dishonest. We have the criterion of embarrassment. People wouldn't write certain things that are embarrassing just based off of cultural norms and practices. Are all these things 100% conclusive? Absolutely not. But it works in history. So when we take history and we apply it to, like Julius Caesar, Augustus Caesar, Titus,
Constantine's a fun one.
Constantine, whatever historical figure, we start applying the historical method. The only reason that we deny things like the resurrection of Jesus Christ is because we apply what's called the principle of analogy. The principle of analogy is that we can only say things in history are true because of what we compare it to today's analogous things that we participate through analogy. So like, I can't say that people back then flew in the sky because we don't just fly in the sky. We have nothing to compare it to. And I think that in itself is the dogmatic viewpoint. It means that no matter how much data or evidence we find in the past, if it goes against our principle of analogy, we'd have to reject it. So for example, if I found 2 billion contemporary documents that had 0 mistakes, 0 errors, and we could date it, that said the aliens came and visited us, I'd have to deny it because we have no analogy towards aliens. So if we simply remove this one principle, I think the data that says that Jesus Christ died and resurrected is not only sufficient, but astronomical compared to the other historical events.
That's really interesting because with what you just said, where if someone said people could fly, and then we have no proof people could fly now, you'd have to deny it. With the Jesus resurrection, if I remember correctly, he was dead for 3 days, according to the story, right?
Dog, please don't go direction I think you're going. Because if you are going the direction I think you're going, it shows you weren't listening. Can you finish what you were saying, and we'll see.
Okay. Well, because yeah. So we know that when someone dies, after about 10 minutes, their brain ceases to function in a way. It decays in a way where you can't easily bring them back to life. There are exceptions where if they're in like freezing cold water, other things, but we know for a fact today, if someone was dead for any like 24 hours, they'd go into rigor mortis, right?
Dog. That was my argument. My argument was that we should not appropriate the principle of analogy. And then you just said it as if I said that the principle of analogy is true.
So you're saying that if someone said people could fly back in the day, just because we can't see people flying today doesn't mean they couldn't fly in the past?
What I'm saying is the principle of analogy is dogmatic and anti-scientific. Because if it was the case that we found an astronomical amount of evidence, a completely insane amount, we would have to deny it because of the principle of analogy. That's dogma.
So maybe I missed it. So just so I can understand with the flying thing, is that not an example there though?
So the aliens example I think is good. If let's say we found 2 billion contemporary documents from around the world that all collectively agreed on this singular event of aliens visiting the planet, that's a more than an astronomical amount of evidence from an historical perspective. We would probably believe it because of the data. But if we hold to the principle of analogy, we would have to deny it because aliens have not visited us.
Because we can't test and prove it.
No. It's because we haven't gone through it, we haven't experienced it. That's the principle of analogy. If it's not analogous, then we can't say it's true.
Okay, but death is something everyone experiences.
Resurrection isn't.
Exactly. So it's
right.
not.
So we deny it only because of the principle of analogy, not because of the data. That's what I'm saying.
But there's no data to support resurrection either.
My Lord,
so it's a double whammy there.
We have data that supports the resurrection. That was my argument.
What data?
The historic reportage model.
Are you arguing because there's witnesses?
That is part of the data, yes.
Okay, but once again, we know that. Okay, so I think it's more likely that. Okay, so we were talking about Constantine, right? He's the one that formed the Council of Nicaea and put a lot of these stories together and redacted things and added things.
There's no data towards that.
Towards the Council of Nicaea existing?
No, towards all the other things that you said about him. The only thing he did was host. That's all he did. Literally the only thing that Constantine did at the Nicaea was host an event to combat Arian.
Yeah, and during that time, he was the high priestess, or priestess, this kind of...
No, Constantine wasn't a priest.
No, I mean, pontifex, or whatever, means the high priest. And that's for the Roman... Yeah.
Not of Christianity. He wasn't a high priest.
No, I know. Yeah, exactly.
He was the emperor.
Yeah, and the high priest of the Roman religion as well.
Okie doke.
Like, so, I mean, these stories, in my opinion, were written by people under I mean, you have to think So I think one of the things that's really interesting is when Constantine first started using
you're completely
Christianity.
ignoring the fact that I'm giving a methodology and you're not even like addressing it. You're just kind of jumping into the data itself. Is the methodology sufficient?
I mean, I understand what you're trying to say. I agree that just a whole bunch of people saying that something doesn't make it true.
That's not even remotely close to what I said. The methodology here is I take the historic model and I apply it to Jesus, but I remove the principle of analogy. The reason I remove the principle of analogy is because I think it's a dogmatic viewpoint. And then I gave my justification why I think it's dogmatic. Is that a sufficient methodology to apply to the historical model?
I think so. Yeah. I like your, once again, I like your skepticism, and I don't disagree. I agree. I'm having trouble fully understanding what you're trying to say, if I'm being honest. But I think I understand the basics of it, and
Okay,
I
let's
agree.
simplify it. If we found 2 billion documents about aliens visiting us in the past, would you believe aliens visited us? Contemporary documents?
Not unless we had some kind of physical evidence as well, probably.
Okay. Do you believe Napoleon Bonaparte participated in the Battle of Waterloo?
I don't think that. I think the Battle of Waterloo was in America, wasn't it? So that wouldn't make sense.
Or whatever battle it was that he did.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, no, you might be right. I don't know. If there's the physical evidence of the battle, then yeah.
What physical evidence is there that Napoleon was there?
Well, I don't know about that battle. I mean, I think a better, like, I was gonna bring up the Battle of the Milvian Bridge, because I think that's really interesting, because it ties into when Constantine first used Christianity.
Why are we going Constantine again? Do you think Hannibal crossed the Alps on elephants?
Was Hannibal the Chinese guy? I mean, I don't. You're referencing.
Okay, what
things
historical
I
event
don't
do you
know.
think is true?
So I was gonna do the Constantine. I was sticking to what I knew, if that makes sense. I mean, I could. The Battle of Bannockburn is one that ties into my history as a Scottish immigrant. That was when Scotland won its independence.
Okay, who was there?
Robert the Bruce was
Okay,
the
how
one
do you know
leading it.
Robert was there?
Because there's plenty of accounts from both sides, as well as physical proof of the battle.
Okay, so we have physical proof of the battle, but the only reason you could say Robert is there is because of the testimony?
Of both sides, yeah. Not just Scottish
it doesn't
people,
matter
but
the
also
sides,
English.
it's testimony.
I feel as though if it was only one side that said that happened and the other side said it didn't happen, that would...
Bro, you keep trying to guess where I'm going. Does testimony prove he was there, yes or no?
Well, I'm just trying to say testimony alone wouldn't.
Okay, so then how do you know he was there?
Because there was testimony and physical evidence.
What physical evidence was there that he was there?
Well, I mean, there were tons of corpses sent back, so we have all the death
Oh,
receipts.
no, we have physical evidence there was a battle there. How do we know he was there?
I think that does...
Did we find his
that's
tooth
a
there?
lot harder. I don't think we can easily prove he was there other than with the testimonies.
Okay.
But there was an overwhelming amount of testimony.
Okay, so is testimony sufficient enough to say?
See, that's where it's hard. From a scientific perspective, no, but from a belief perspective, yes.
Historically speaking, was he there?
Yes, and there
How do we
might
know he
actually
was
be
there?
paper receipts. There might be paper receipts,
Paper
like
receipts is
letters
just more
he wrote.
testimony.
Well, I mean, if you have him essentially cashing a check, no, I'm not saying that he was cashing a check at that time, to clarify, but that would be physical proof as well
of his testimony.
No, I just mean it would be proof that he was there. Like, if he sent mail, right, and we still have that mail, and it has like the address on it.
Is testimony. Everything written on that mail is testimony. The address written on it is somebody wrote that that's the address, and that's the testimony of that person.
But the mail itself would be physical evidence. I mean, I hear you. The testimony is
Piece
something
of
that someone
paper,
attests
everything
to.
on the piece of paper is testimony. Unless you're going to say the piece of paper had his DNA on it and we found the DNA.
Okay. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I agree.
So testimony is sufficient. Why wouldn't you believe the aliens came?
Because there was no physical evidence. Like if they came in and they killed people, and there were there was like I at the Battle of Bannockburn, I assume there was enough death that we could actually see that translated in a way where you'd see a population decline.
The physical evidence is the pyramids. All the testimony says the aliens built the pyramids. Do you believe the aliens built the pyramids?
No, definitely not.
Why not? We now have physical evidence and testimony.
Because we have more physical evidence showing how they built the pyramids themselves.
No,
than
this
what
analogy. 2 billion documents in antiquity that says aliens came down and built all the pyramids around the world. Do you believe aliens came to visit us?
No, because once again, we're just using testimony without physical evidence.
No, the physical evidence is the pyramids.
But there's more physical evidence around the pyramids of, like the chisel marks, the canals.
Yes, the aliens used chisel marks. The aliens used chisels, and the aliens brought it down the river, but it was aliens that did it.
So the aliens were human-like then?
Sure.
I mean, I'm confused.
Long, lanky creatures that built the pyramids by hand, but it was aliens that did it. Do you believe aliens did it?
But why would something or a species
Who cares
capable
why,
of
bro? Why you keep changing the analogy? Answer the question. My goodness gracious.
Okay, well, so no. Once again, the pyramid. There's no connection there. Just because there's 2,000 people testimony.
2 billion contemporary documents said aliens built the pyramids around the world, and you deny it because why?
Because the physical proof points.
What physical proof points against it?
Like the canals they built. All that. I guess if
how do you know the aliens didn't build the canals? You're assuming the aliens did it through magical lasers that listed everything up. The aliens could have come down, got off their ships, and started building it.
I guess if that's what the testimony also said, and there were 2 billion accounts that said all of that in detail, then yeah, I would have to concede that point.
I can't talk to you anymore. This is insane. That's insane, man. Insane. Oh my goodness gracious. I gotta go anyways. I got a meeting in 20 minutes. Like pulling teeth. He's a nice guy, but my goodness gracious. You think we're both nuts? Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Maybe we'll talk to his dad next time. John, before you go, can you do my AMA? What was your question? I missed it. Is it in the soups? Money, money, money. We got that one. Caller, you're staying. No, we got that one, that one, that one, that one. I got to rush through these because I'm running out of time. The Gospel According to Dan Brown. I don't know what that means. What was your AMA, though? Top 5 cereals ranked and why. Go into extreme detail. I'm not actually much of a cereal guy. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, probably I think is number 1. Reese's, maybe like number 3. Cheerios number 5, which is just staple. Need 4 and 2. I don't know what would be like 2. Also, when I yell, it's not because I'm mad at people. It's just I'm passionate. It's like I get frustrated. I just yell. I'm not mad at them. I don't wish him ill will or think he's stupid or anything like that. But my God. I can't think of number 2 and 4, and I do gotta head out pretty quick. Why won't people that argue against the Bible just read the Bible? That's a very good point. That's a very good point. I'm gonna call it there though, guys. Like I said, I got a meeting, so Boo Berry number 1, no. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cheerios. What was number 3 again? What did I do number 3? Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cheerios. I think Frosted Flakes number 4. I think Frosted Flakes is pretty good. And for those who don't believe me, look at how many times I yell at John. And he's like, again, one of my best friends here on the online apologetic world. No, not Cocoa Puffs. Oh yeah, Reese's. Reese's is number 3. I need a number 2. I know there's a number 2 out there. I don't. Lucky Charms, no. Lucky Charms is only good because of the marshmallows. Captain Crunch, no. Scrapes my mouth too much. Yeah, he was just trying to say principle of analogy, but he just didn't want to do it. Kicks, no. I know I can. I know it's there. I got Frosted Flakes is my number 4. Mini Wheats, I'll do that. Mini Wheats number 2. I think I'm happy. Actually, I might put Mini Wheats in number 1. Mini Wheats and Cinnamon Toast Crunch are in tied place for number 1. They could go either way. I'd be happy with that. Mini Wheats number 1. Mini Wheats, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Reese's Pieces, Frosted Flakes, Cheerios. That's my number. That's my 5. Oatmeal Crisp. I'm gonna take out Frosted Flakes for Oatmeal Crisp. I'm gonna put Oatmeal Crisp in there. That's what I'm gonna do. That's my 5. That's my 5. Frosted Flakes pretty good, but it also scrapes my mouth a bunch. All right. Our Father is in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the conversations. Forgive my frustration today. I am very low on sleep. That's not an excuse, Lord, for we should show the fruits of the Spirit nonetheless. But forgive me, Lord. I am a sinful, broken human. Walk with us, be patient with us, give us grace, and draw people into the knowledge of you, and forgive us of our sins as we continue to move forward in our life. In Jesus' name, amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. God is good. Also, the reason I got frustrated that last guy at the end is for him to answer the question, he once again had to change my analogy. That's why I got upset, because I'm like, this is the analogy. Do you believe it? And then he's like, let me change the analogy. I'm like, well, just answer the question. That's why I got annoyed at that end part there. Frosted Mini Wheats for the win. Join the Discord. Yeah, that's right. Also join the website if you want to support us at bigjohnsteel.com. That's the place to do it. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end it on TikTok. I'm going to hang out over on YouTube for about 5-10 more minutes. It sucks because we actually got a huge queue of people right now. I don't really want to leave, but I got a private meeting I promised to do. So God bless, and we'll see you all next time. We actually like a massive queue of people, which sucks because we don't get that huge queue that often. We have like over 10 people in the queue today. Oh well, it is what it is. It is what it is. Whoever gets angry or loses control loses. That is the dumbest argument. Listen, I love you, bro. That's stupid. Imagine this. Imagine somebody goes, hey, they give a modus ponens, they give an excellent explanation, but they're very angry when they do it. And then somebody just screams very calmly, nuh-uh. Or not even screams, just like, nuh-uh. That's wrong. Who won that argument? Who won that argument? You should do AMAs once a week to give myself a break from debate. I don't know, bro. I think I got just as frustrated today. 2 + 2 = 4! Exclamation mark. See, you lose. Yeah. That is one of the silliest things I've heard from an audience. It's like, oh yeah, if the person who gets angry lost to the debate. What? Are you kidding me? I saw that. One of the reasons I saw that was actually with Jordan Peterson when he debated Destiny. And through his debate with Destiny, Jordan Peterson got frustrated, got red-faced, and got mad, and everybody started screaming Jordan Peterson lost because he got mad. And then I saw the clip, and I'm like, actually, yeah, he did kind of get cooked in that clip. And then I went and watched the whole thing, and I'm like, he absolutely wrecked Destiny. Like, wrecked him. Not even like it was close. Like, he destroyed them. He destroyed him. Just like, I was like, but he got frustrated. Same thing with who was it? Andrew Wilson and what's her name? When he called her a schnizzlicker. Everybody says he got wrecked in that debate because he got mad, which was like a 6-hour debate, and he got mad for like 2 minutes. 2 minutes he got mad because she brought up a sensitive subject, and everybody clipped that and said he lost. But then when you go listen to the debate, he absolutely wrecked her. Like, wrecked her. What about Raisin Bran? No. Of course, the Nut guy. To Muslims, whoever gets angry is often seen as the winner. Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes. Sometimes that is the case. Well, ladies and gentlemen, some crash outs are valid. Sometimes, yeah. I think that Andrew Wilson crash out wasn't valid. He should probably pulled it back. Every time I crash out, it's not valid. I just get frustrated really easy. But I get frustrated with my friends too, so it's never anything personal. It's never anything personal. What the heck is John doing? John's live right now somewhere else. The cheater. He said he couldn't go live on Wednesdays. The filthy liar. Filthy, filthy liar. All right, folks. I got to go get ready for the meeting. It's in 10 minutes. So God bless. I love you all, and we'll see you all next time. Where's the thing?
Attention, test subjects. The crusade has concluded. Statistically, most of you survived. That number is higher than projected, so congratulations are technically in order. I want to thank each of you for your participation. Not because it was appreciated, the data will determine that later, but because company policy requires positive reinforcement regardless of actual performance. Let's review some highlights. Several of you showed remarkable dedication. Others showed up. Both are being logged as participation. Because apparently we're not allowed to distinguish between them anymore. To the individual who asked, is this mandatory? Yes, it was mandatory. It remains mandatory. Retroactively, to the person who brought snacks, thank you. You have been promoted to Provisional Morale Officer. This is not a paid position. It was never going to be a paid position, and to everyone who completed the crusade without significant injury, structural damage, or triggering an incident report, well done. You are, and I cannot stress this enough, exactly what we hoped for, adequate now. About next time, yes, there will be a next time. I know some of you were secretly hoping the crusade was a one-time event, like a natural disaster or a bad decision made at a company retreat. It was not. It is, in fact, an ongoing initiative, and your continued involvement has already been assumed, scheduled, and in some cases contractually implied, so mark your calendars. Bring your friends. Bring your enemies. Frankly, we're not picky, and neither is the sign-up sheet. We look forward to doing this again, and by look forward to, I mean the outcome is inevitable, and your feelings on the matter, while noted, will not be a factor. Thank you for participating. Thank you for surviving, and thank you in advance for coming back. The crusade is over. The next crusade begins immediately.